too. Billy Doctor, of course, has a wealth of knowledge in sports. He heads the Dominica Olympic Committee. He's a retired FIFA referee and international cricket umpire. So Billy Doctor is well versed in the area of sport and in cricket as well. He will moderate tonight's proceedings. And then we will have the introduction of the panelists tonight and the topics as well. So Marvin Thomas will give a historical perspective of Dominica's cricket. Very interested topic. Marvin Thomas, of course, is a very well-respected level 3 qualified cricket coach, and he did that with the England Cricket Board. Marvin Thomas, of course, played a lot for Dominica. Started playing cricket sometime in the 1980s. But of course, when he's introduced, of course, you will hear more about what he has done for Dominica in cricket in particular. And then we have Etienne, and she will look at women's cricket in Dominica. Etienne, Dominican cricketer, she too has done a lot in that field. We understood, has been playing cricket since she was like 8 years old. And she would have gone on to represent Dominica in many games abroad. So she is one of the panelists tonight, and she will be looking at women's cricket in Dominica, and that should be very interesting, coming from a woman. And then we will have Mr. Glenn Joseph, and he will look at administration of local cricket. And Glenn Joseph, of course, was recently, not too long ago, elected as the president of the Dominica Cricket Association. And Glenn is here, and he will speak on administration of local cricket. And we also have on the panelists, as part of the panel, in fact, His Excellency Ambassador Emmanuel Nantham. And he will look at the administration of regional and international crickets. And between 1990, I think, and until 2000, he managed one of the big activities in Portsmouth. But he went on to do a lot with cricket, particularly in the administration of the sport in Dominica, of course, on the regional level as well. He held the position of director of the Windward Islands Cricket Board of Control as well. So he should be well versed to speak on that topic. So I'm getting a sign now that I can go to the podium to join Gavin Richards, who is the chairperson of tonight's proceeding, the sports editor at DBS Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the UWI Open Campus. My name is Gavin Richards. I'll be the chairperson for this evening's event. Of course, I'd like to welcome everyone to this event being organized by DBS Radio. It's a cricket panel discussion, and we have some distinguished invited guests and panelists with us, and we'll be discussing the sport of cricket over the next few hours. Of course, we all know cricket is dear to our hearts, and it's a sport that has brought a lot of joy to us, both locally, regionally, and of course internationally as well. We can speak of our great Dominican heroes, and we can speak, of course, of those who have gone on to represent the West Indies team. Of course, we will start the proceedings with the national anthem, and I'd like to invite Ms. Milia Joseph Dennis to the podium for the first stanza of the national anthem.
If you could join me. I love beauty, I love splendor, I'll do also sweet and fair. All must surely gaze in wonder at thy gifts so rich and rare. Rivers, valleys, hills and mountains, all these gifts we do extol. Healthy so like our fountain's giving cheer that warms the soul.
Thank you very much, Amelia Joseph Dennis. We'd now like to invite the Lord into this presence this evening, and to do so, I'd like to invite Mr. Niall Grove, a student here who will perform a religious rendition.
Good evening to everybody. The splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, and trembles at his voice. How great is our God! Sing with me, how great is our God! And all will see how great is our God. Age to age he stands, and time is in his hand, beginning and the end, beginning and the end. The Godhead three in one, Father, Spirit, Son, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. How great is our God! Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God. You're the name above all name. You are worthy of all praise, and my heart will sing, how great is our God. You're the name above all names. You are worthy of all praise, and my heart will sing, how great is our God. How great is our God! Sing with me, how great is our God! And oh, we'll see how great is our God!
Thank you very much, Mr. Grove, for that wonderful presentation, performance there. Before we continue, just want to recognize some of the distinguished guests in our midst. We have the Honorable Minister for Telecommunications and Broadcasting, Senator Oscar George, the President of the Dominica Olympic Committee, Mr. Billy Doctorove, Sports Coordinator, Mr. Trevor Schillingford, the President of the Dominica Football Association, Mr. Glenn Etienne, the President of the Dominica Softball Cricket Development Association, Mr. Eston Charles, and of course the staff of DBS Radio, the former manager of DBS Radio, and also the chairman of the 50th Anniversary Committee, Mr. Dennis Joseph, and all our other invited guests. We continue with the program. We'll now like to invite Mr. Dennis Joseph, the former manager of DBS Radio and who's also the chairman of the 50th Anniversary Committee, to the podium for the welcome remarks.
Good evening, everyone. I know, just like the West Indies team. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. The protocol has been established, so I wouldn't go through it again. But as chairman of the celebrations, 50th anniversary celebrations, continuing until, as you may know, to November 1st, when we come to the climax, because in fact, November 1st is the actual date of the birthday, 50 years. Tonight is one such activity leading towards that date. It's a very important activity. It's about cricket. Just in case we have forgotten, we were once champions of the world. Things have got different, not bad, but different. And we're no longer champions of the world. We are struggling to find a place. And we go up and we go down and we go up and we go down. The umpire always has to be giving us out. And I had to rush to come out of where I was to be here. Just like the West Indies team, we rushed to come out. But let me welcome you here this evening. And I'm happy to see so many of you here. So cricket is still in the air. And let me also congratulate the valued panelists who will be discussing what do we do about our failures or successes in the cricket world. DBS has been a part of cricket. We have had all the commentators that you know. We have had Jeff Charles in the early days. And after that, we had others. More prominent of them would be Ozzie Lewis and others who have been involved in the broadcast. But DBS has always supported the cricket. We have done this for a number of years and will continue to do so, and that's why we made it part of our 50th anniversary. I'd like to congratulate the staff, the manager, the program director will join me and give them a round of applause. The cricket wasn't my idea, I'm just the chairman. All I know about cricket is how to keep the wicket. Whenever they have a game, they call me to bring the wickets there, because that's the most I know about the cricket. But I love cricket. And tonight, we will, at the end of all this, have gone some way to telling people who are listening and those who are here even, that we have not lost interest in this important game that has kept the West Indies together. And we will continue to do our best, not only in this anniversary year, but in the years to come, to make cricket again one of the glory days, one of the glory things of the West Indies. I hope when I come back here in the next 50 years, I'll be able to say that we did a good job. Thank you very much for coming, all of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dennis Joseph. At this point, we're going to take a quick break. Of course, this panel discussion is being brought to you with the kind compliments of a number of good corporate citizens. And we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
AutoTrade Limited is your #1 choice for all your automotive needs. We have the best in new and reconditioned vehicles. For over 25 years, AutoTrade has represented top quality brands like Suzuki, Kia, Nissan, and Hyundai commercial trucks. We are the leading provider for genuine auto parts and accessories at affordable prices. Need your car fixed? Our trained and certified technicians will do it right the first time with professional service, using state-of-the-art equipment, getting you back on the road in no time. And did you know we provide hassle-free financing on all your vehicles? We are the best choice for a complete automotive experience from purchase to parts and service. Because at AutoTrade, it's not just a vehicle, it's a relationship.
You've got the edge over your circumstances. Many times there'll be trials to face. At least when it comes to your waning finances, you've got the edge. Help is coming your way. You've got big edge for those days when you're running low. Big edge is the place to go. Big edge, the cash can be in your hand with the easiest payment plan. Cash in a flash.
Go, 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 go! It's time for the Copa America Games. Enjoy every game live in the SportsMax app, at home or on the go, all the way to the finals. And it gets even better. With the Digicel Prime Bundle, you get simply more hours of streaming and dedicated data just for your SportsMax app. Download now on Android or iOS. The SportsMax app. Simply more sports.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. And of course, to the listeners who are joining us live on DBS Radio and all of our frequencies, you can also view this proceedings at the UWI Auditorium. You can simply log on to the Facebook page, DBS Radio Facebook page, also the DBS Radio YouTube page. So it's very simple. You just type DBS Radio in the search bar. It will pop up and you can view the proceedings here at the UWI Auditorium. Next, to give us some brief remarks is the Honorable Senator Oscar George. He's the Minister with Responsibility for Telecommunications and Broadcasting, and he's also a former cricketer as well. So I'd like to invite Mr. Oscar George to the podium.
Thank you very much. I'm happy you said that I'm a past cricketer, so tonight I'll be addressing you solely as a cricket enthusiast and not so much as a minister. Let me just recognize our panelists, first and foremost, Mr. Nanton, Mr. Joseph, Mr. Thomas, and Ms. Etienne. And I must say, when I look at the composition of the panelists, I think that we'll be in for a treat tonight. So much experience in this panelists. Cricket, lovely cricket, a game that has long and very captivating historical experience in the West Indies. Today, the sports remain dear to our hearts. Sometimes we hate it, sometimes we love it, but we just can't do without it. It's part of our culture and identity. It's what unites us as Caribbean people. The importance of cricket to West Indian people is beyond doubt and speculation, as there is substantial evidence documented by West Indians such as Hilary Beckers and the late Tim Hector and C.L.R. James. These writers have shown that there is a clear relationship between the historical development of all English-speaking Caribbean countries and the social forces which have contained in the game of cricket. So important is cricket to the Caribbean people that their psychological state, depending on whether the regional team has won or lost, can be a predictor of their mood and personality. Moreover, defeat or the omission of their favorite player can cause collective agony and gloom. And for those who do not fully agree with me, there's a popular saying, you can't truly understand the Caribbean until you have watched a cricket match. Though we can't promise you that you understand the cricket match. But why is cricket so rooted in our culture and way of life? And where did this passion towards the sport really originate and manifest itself? The life of the average West Indian is closely related to political, economic, and social events of the society in which he or she lives. As a result, the West Indian has come to understand that cricket is an instrument for a particular purpose. It is cricket which have allowed the West Indian to measure him or herself in terms of their ability, competence, and skill against other nations of the world. Cricket has liberated West Indians from the shackles of poverty and social backwardness and has elevated many players to the status of heroes and icons. The success of the West Indies cricket team, especially in the 1980s, gave the region a certain prestige and made it better known or respected than it was ever before. So it is not difficult to prove the importance of the game to members of the West Indies society. From as early as the 1600s, Caribbean islands were once under the authority of the English crown, and the legacy of the British colonization was particularly striking due to the fact that the British presence lasted over a number of centuries. The British desire to exercise superiority led them to introduce a number of institutions from the motherland. The game of cricket was one such institution brought across the Atlantic onto our shores. However, the evolution of the sport in the West Indies eventually succeeded, not in reinforcing the British control, but in creating an avenue for West Indian cultural expression and resistance. These expressions can help to highlight the local West Indian element that over time was instrumental in the production of a distinct Caribbean form of identity which manifested itself both on and off the cricket field. This new and dynamic brand of cricket resonated with us Caribbean people. It greatly influenced the way we played the game throughout the years. From the era of Larry Constantine to George Headley, the Free W's era, the Gary Sobers era, the Clive Lloyd era, to the Brian Lara era, West Indies has always been a force to reckon with. This great sense of cultural links also manifests itself at the local level in Dominica. It is evident in the packed Winter Park every time there's an international game being hosted. One can recall the buzz at the Botanical Gardens when Windward Islands played against the Leeward Islands. Persons could have been seen on buses and even at work listening to the transitor radios. Families gathering around the radio to listen to the score, and children playing on makeshift cricket fields with old coconut branches and a wind ball. And also, we as Dominicans are so proud when our guys have excelled and made it to the international stage, with the likes of Grayson Shillingford, Irvin Shillingford, Norbert Phillip, Adam Sanford, and Shane Shillingford. I really look forward with great optimism for the day when our very own Kavem Hodge and Alec Afanas will become a permanent fixture in the West Indies middle order. So up to this day, both the game of cricket and the Windies team still resonates with all Caribbean people and is still part and parcel of our cultural identity. The game has maintained its relevance partly due to the introduction of various innovations such as the T20s, the T10s, and the Super Overs. These variants of the game will ensure that it lives and gains further popularity. The fact of the matter is, today, in this global environment, the game has been altered a great deal by new technologies and revised geopolitical landscapes. Many have debated as to whether the cricket culture will wither away and die in this age of globalization. To this end, cricket as a commercial sport has had to respond to this transformation as a condition for its financial survival. Furthermore, the claim that cricket as a means of a national expression and cultural identity may be under threat, especially in the upcoming 2 decades or so. This shift is especially evident in the way in which our modern cricketers now partake in various competing leagues around the world. There is also a threat of losing popularity to other sports. Tall kids who might have grown into terrifying fast bowlers were now more likely to run up and down a basketball court, and the ones who were good with the bat are more likely to turn to football. But even through all these evolutions, cricket still remains a fundamental component of the culture of our Caribbean people. Even when supporters might not even be at the cricket ground, everyone on island will always seem to know the score. And this is a simple signal of our commitment we all have towards the game of cricket. We will need, however, to release a higher level of energy and a sense of collective purpose and struggle that West Indies cricket needs in the future. This era now requires strategic response and a socially unified West Indian community to regain our dominance on the global stage. And this is what we shall do. Because cricket is not just a game we play, it's a way of life. But we must bear in mind that it is our collective responsibility to enhance the sport. Government continues to play its part, However, every single one of us should get involved. The administrators, our players, the business community, schools, and even at the community and the household levels. We all should play our part in ensuring that cricket is not just a game, but that it remains the heartbeat of our region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George, for your words. Of course, this cricket panel discussion, live coverage, is being brought to the kind compliments of Auto Trade, Big Edge Financial Express, ISA Trading, Fine Foods, the biggest distributor of the biggest brands found in Dominica, HHV Whitchurch and Company, agents for Carrot Beer, Digicel, and the Dominica Brewery and Beverages Limited, Kubuli Beer. And as we're on Digicel, of course, Digicel, you can get extra hours to watch the Copa America games and more sports on the go with a Digicel Prime bundle. Download the SportsMax app and enjoy every game live. We are slowly approaching the business end of this panel discussion, the moment that we've all been waiting for. And I'll just use this opportunity now to introduce the moderator for this evening's event. And he is Mr. Billy Doctorov, the current president of the Dominica Olympic Committee, but also a former cricket test umpire. And Mr. Billy Doctorov is the executive director of Big Edge Financial Express and the president of the DOC. He's a retired FIFA referee and international cricket umpire. Billy Doctorov is a proud old boy of the Dominica Grammar School. He also studied agriculture at the Jamaica School of Agriculture. He worked as an extension officer within the Ministry of Agriculture for 15 years before he was transferred to the sports division. He worked as a sports officer for over 10 years. When he became a member of the elite panel of cricket umpires, Mr. Billy Doctorov retired from the government service. Mr. Doctorov umpired his first international cricket game in 1988 when the West Indies team played a one-day international match against England in St. Vincent. And he went on to umpire 34 test matches, 112 one-day internationals, and 20 2020 matches. He serves on the Windsor Park Board and has been appointed to the Dominica State College Board. He also served as an executive, or he also served in executive positions in umpire associations. Currently, he is the executive vice president of the West Indies Cricket Umpires Association. When he can spare the time, Mr. Doctorov enjoys relaxing with family and friends and watching sports on television. He's an avid supporter of the Liverpool Football Club, and he's also the proud father of 5 children. He and his wife, Antonilla, have been married for 31 years, and they live in Canefield East. It gives me this distinct pleasure to invite Mr. Billy Doctorov, the moderator for this evening's event.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, the manager of DBS Radio, present manager, Mr. Joseph, past manager and chair of the 50th anniversary, Mr. Dennis Joseph, and you can't talk about DBS without talking about Mr. Dennis Joseph, members of DBS staff, sports coordinator, president of the Football Association, president of the Softball Association, and cricket icons, including Thomas Kentish. Let me say it gives me great pleasure to be given the opportunity to serve as what I anticipate to be an enlightening panel discussion and an open segment. And I want to congratulate DBS on its 50th anniversary and also on having a discussion on cricket to form part of their celebrations. I want to apologize, not recognize the Minister George. When he came in, he told me, Billy, I'm not here as a minister, I'm here as a former player. And he told me he wants to play a few games, but no time. I think I have given him out a few times already, you know, so, Mr. Minister. I suppose like most decisions I made. Yeah. So I want to congratulate DBS for having the foresight to include cricket. And I also want to congratulate UWI for forming a formidable partnership with DBS. And partnership is a very appropriate word to use tonight because, you know, partnership is a very important word for cricket. And the theme, cricket culture, more than a game, is absolutely spot on and captures the true meaning of what cricket truly means to the average and normal Dominican, and by extension, almost every West Indian. And I want to tell you, since I started umpiring, I recognize that when women follow and support cricket, they do it much more passionately than men. And as an umpire, they give the most mepri to. Cricket means a lot to us, and you can get some of the most passionate and effervescent discussion and arguments surrounding the most intricate of sports. Those discussions can occur at every possible location, at work, at school, at home, in the bars, street corners, on the beach, in the park, after church, and I've heard it already, during church. And the participants are always of the view that they are right, and that makes the discussion very interesting and an eye-opener to many a bystander. I want to thank everyone for joining. I want to really recognize the panelists and to join everyone for joining the panel discussion, wherever you may be. And we look forward for a very interactive and informative evening. And at this time, we have a commercial break to recognize our sponsors.
AutoTrade Limited is your #1 choice for all your automotive needs. We have the best in new and reconditioned vehicles. For over 25 years, AutoTrade has represented top quality brands like Suzuki, Kia, Nissan, and Hyundai commercial trucks. We are the leading provider for genuine auto parts and accessories at affordable prices. Need your car fixed? Our trained and certified technicians will do it right the first time with professional service, using state-of-the-art equipment, getting you back on the road in no time. And did you know we provide hassle-free financing on all your vehicles? We are the best choice for a complete automotive experience from purchase to parts and service. Because at AutoTrade, it's not just a vehicle, it's a relationship.
You've got the edge over your circumstances. Many times there'll be trials to face, at least when it comes to your waning finances. You've got the edge, help is coming your way. You've got big edge for those days when you're running low. Big edge is the place to go. Big edge, the cash can be in your hand with the easiest payment plan. Cash in a flash.
Go, 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 go! It's time for the Copa Copa America Games. Enjoy every game live in the Sports Max app, at home or on the go, all the way to the finals. And it gets even better. With the Digicel Prime Bundle, you get simply more hours of streaming and dedicated data just for your Sports Max app. Download now on Android or iOS. The Sports Max app. Simply more sports.
Thank you very much. Welcome back to our listeners and viewers of different medium. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our distinguished panelists. Second from right, Mr. Clifford Marvin Thomas. He's a marketing extension officer at Dexia, attached to the multi-purpose pack houses. He's also a level 3 qualified cricket coach with England Cricket Board. Marvin holds several internal auditing certificates with Winfresh and has worked for over 30 years in agricultural extension, first through DBMC, Ministry of Agriculture, and Dexia. Marvin started playing cricket in the early 1980s and rose to become the vice captain of the under-19 in the mid-80s. Later, he played for the senior team for 10 years, and his team won the Winner Islands tournament for 9 consecutive years. In the 1980s, he played for the Winner Islands. In 2006, Marvin began coaching the senior cricket team. He has also coached the under-17 and under-19 winners team. In his own community, Marvin coaches the St. Paul Parish Convenient Plus Cricket Club. Marvin is a serious vegetable farmer, and he enjoys being outside on his farm. He and his wife, Irma, have been married for 25 years and have 3 children. The family resides in Warner. Please welcome Mr. Thomas. Moving. Our next panelist is Miss Pearl Charlene Etienne, who is to the immediate left of Mr. Thomas. Miss Pearl Charlene is a security officer and also works for JB Plumbing Services. She is the former captain of the national women's cricket team. Pearl has been playing cricket since she was 8 years old, and at that time played with the boys in a native village of Petit Savan. When she was 16, she was selected to the national women's cricket team. Later, she played with the West Indies under-23 team in Trinidad and Tobago. In 2010, Pearl was selected for the West Indies women's team. That team won 4 series between 2010 and 2013. Pearl made history in 2012 to become the first woman to play with the West Indies women's team in Dominica. Currently, Pearl is a member of the Winner Islands cricket team and is scheduled to travel with the team later this year. Pearl resides in Yampis, Stock Farm, and she enjoys being part and being involved in community services here. Welcome, Ms. Pearl Etienne. The third member, to my immediate left, Mr. Glenn Francis Joseph. Mr. Glenn Francis Joseph is the owner of Joseph's Construction Limited and Jadani's Comfort Apartments in Picard, Portsmouth. He's also the president of the Dominica Cricket Association. Starting out as a draftsman and later moving to contractor, Glenn has spent the last 30 years in the field of building and construction management. Glenn has a passion for cricket and has been involved in its development and administration for many years. He's a founder of Stars Cricket Academy and is a former manager of the national men's cricket team. Glenn is a father of 7 children. He and his wife Claire have been married for 20 years and live in Picard. Welcome to Mr. Joseph. And the final panelist is to the extreme left, His Excellency Ambassador Emmanuel F.X. Nanton. Before I leave here this evening, I want to know the meaning of those, that FX, what they really mean, what it stands for. His Excellency Ambassador Emmanuel F.X. Nanton is an entrepreneur as well as ambassador at large in the office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for the Citizenship by Investment program. Emmanuel has always been a community-oriented person and is passionate about his service to Portsmouth. He was a founder of the Portsmouth Awareness Committee, which planned all the major events in the community for a number of years. Between 1990 and 2000, he managed the Fête Mawe Guatas. And for those of us who are not very good on the patois, it just means the Portsmouth Marine Festival. Fête Mawe Guatas, which at the time was the biggest community festival in Dominica. Emmanuel has been involved in sports, particularly cricket, from a tender age. He admits that as a player, well, he said he didn't admit that, he told me that he never felt that he was good enough to be competitive, and so he channeled his skills and talent in the route of administration, and I think he made the correct decision. He served as organizer of the Harris Paints Northern Cricket League for many years. At the Dominica Cricket Association, he served firstly as secretary, then vice president, and then president. In regional cricket, he held the position of director of the Windward Islands Cricket Board of Control, and then moved to serve in that position on the West Indies Cricket Board, before moving on to become one of the longest serving vice presidents there. He also served as alternate director of the International Cricket Council and advisor to the United States Cricket Association. Emmanuel is a father of 2 children. He and his wife, Moonlight, have been married for over 25 years and have made their home in Bonn. I welcome Ambassador Nanton. So at this time, I would like to actually start the discussion. Before I do, I just want to say that every speaker will be allowed 15 minutes to make a presentation, 5 minutes. And when there are 5 minutes remaining, you will see this card. Yeah, you see this card. 5 minutes. Well, if you finish before that, no problem. Maximum 15 minutes. That's the qualifying word, maximum. I just make it one more time, you know. And when you're down to 1 minute, I will give the signal 1 minute. And we started a bit late, so we're trying to see whether we can maximize the time. So please try and keep within the times allotted. So at this time, before we actually bring on the panelists, we take a commercial break.
AutoTrade Limited is your #1 choice for all your automotive needs. We have the best in new and reconditioned vehicles. For over 25 years, AutoTrade has represented top quality brands like Suzuki, Kia, Nissan, and Hyundai commercial trucks. We are the leading provider for genuine auto parts and accessories at affordable prices. Need your car fixed? Our trained and certified technicians will do it right the first time with professional service using state-of-the-art equipment, getting you back on the road in no time. And did you know we provide hassle-free financing on all your vehicles? We are the best choice for a complete automotive experience from purchase to parts and service. Because at AutoTrade, it's not just a vehicle, it's a relationship.
You've got the edge over your circumstances. Many times there'll be trials to face. At least when it comes to your waning finances, you've got the edge. Help is coming your way. You've got big edge for those days when you're running low. Big edge is the place to go. The cash can be in your hand with the easiest payment plans. Cash in a flash.
Go, 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 go! It's time for the Copa America Games. Enjoy every game live in the SportsMax app, at home or on the go, all the way to the finals. And it gets even better. With the Digicel Prime Bundle, you get simply more hours of streaming and dedicated data just for your SportsMax app. Download now on Android or iOS. The SportsMax app. Simply more sports.
Thank you and welcome back. I just want to just make one more announcement. We'll be having all 4 presentations by the panelists before we open the floor for discussion. So at this time, our first panelist, Mr. Marvin Thomas, please make him welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Well, since protocol has been established, and since the moderator has indicated how strict he will be on time, I'll get straight into business. A special good evening, though, to everyone in the room, and of course, everybody listening in Radio Land and live on DBS's Facebook page. To start off, I will probably just want to lighten up things a bit. Very quickly, when I found out that my official name was Clifford, that was the first time I actually was getting ready to travel, you know, to play under-19 cricket at the age of 15 for Dominica. And I found out that that was my official name. Well, everybody know me Marvin. And most times when I get together with the senior group of guys in training, they take the chance to cross the line by calling me, you know, Clifford, the big red dog. That's because I drive a red pickup truck. Yeah, so it's a nice light moment. However, I also want to say good evening to my wife at home with the boys. She had to stay home, so she couldn't be here. I know they're listening. And of course, to the lovely people in my community, Mau, where I grew up and played cricket. Cricket, you know, in the past, and I will delve into local cricket. I have to go into regional cricket, since we have so many prominent Dominicans who would have left a mark on regional cricket and even the international cricket. But radio broadcasting, you know, and its impact on cricket in Dominica and even across the region. And I remember my dad saying, Gassa Merv, you know, meaning Mervin, Gassa Grayson Shillingford, you know, listen to the radio. My mom was a very avid supporter of cricket too. Merv Norbert, you know, in the Creole and so. And that brings to mind people like Jeff Charles. And I remember, I don't know the gentleman, but you would also always hear that he would make you feel like you're on the field of cricket. Am I right, Billy? And I heard a lot about Jeff Charles from my parents, who followed cricket closely. They never played, though. And then you had people like Ozzie Lewis in his own style, and Ozzie, was so good in terms of the history of cricket. And of course, he always boasted of himself as a cricketer for Dominica who played. And then we had some other persons who, through radio, and of that, through local radio, DBS Radio, or Radio Dominica, people like Joseph Thomas, very eloquent and articulate. Andy Carter in his own style too. And we shouldn't forget Sentage, as we locally and affectionately know him, Heavy Shillingford. I hope he's listening. But DBS Radio has to be congratulated for impacting the lives of so many cricketers. I think they played an important role in really introducing cricket, because those days you didn't have television, maybe one person had a television in the community or two, but radio broadcasting had its impact, an important impact on Dominica's cricket. So historically, I think, no matter how many other radio stations that would crop up, but I don't think they can ever, regardless of the 50 years, but since we're speaking cricket, can replace DBS's impact and involvement and development of cricket in Dominica. Am I right? Yeah, right. So we speak of the commentators. And, but I think one of the things that really impacted our cricket was clubs. And I say it's a club culture. At that time, I would say a club culture. And I heard of, things like Blackburns, and that brought a lot of excitement to people like Ozzie Lewis. I think he was a member of the team too. And Clem John, of course we know Clem. I think I'm better known as Atama. Mr. John, I know you're listening. Comber Mayor, with Thomas Baptist and Patrick John, a former Prime Minister. I hope he's well enough now to be listening to this. Spartans, with Jeff Faustin, Cuthbert Williams, and Clem John. I didn't play with them, but Jeff had a serious impact on my cricket too, Yorkshire, I wasn't able to come up with anybody of note who played for Yorkshire. So if somebody's in the room who knows something about Yorkshire, please, I hope you can enlighten us. But DCP Casuals had its impact on the club culture. I wouldn't say structure, but culture. At that time, club cricket was massive. Yes, Vernon, how are you? TK? Nice to recognize you there. Right? DCP Cash was Owen Shillingford, Grayson Shillingford, guys like Tutti, Joseph Gist, Roy Shillingford were part of this, powerful club. Celtics, of course, cannot go unmentioned. We look at Sebastian Thomas Kentish, Cecil Elwin, people like Mervyn Durand, Vernon Alain. Yeah, I remember Vernon. Yeah, good leg spinner. Heineken Saints with Gifford Walsh, may his soul rest in peace. Edward Francis, trusted doctor of Billy himself, Doctor of. Wasn't very stylish, but was very, very difficult to out. I played a few games, against Billy. Somerset, cannot go unmentioned. Ambrose Sylvester, Caleb Lora, deceased, may his soul rest in peace also. Ronald Coffey, Glenford Vidal, these guys, had their role to play also. The Police Club, Jevan Etienne, Jerome Pear, Jones Moses, James Green. Yeah? And DGS, interestingly, fell into that club culture. People like Lockhart Sebastian again, Irvin Shillingford playing at schoolboys. And the St. Mary's Academy. And that is interesting as it relates to Dominica's cricket history. Two prime ministers, former prime ministers. Rosie Douglas played for St. Mary's Academy in Division 1 cricket. Deceased, may his soul rest in peace also. Patrick John played for St. Mary's Academy. We also had Francis Grell, Sam McDougall, and brother Egbert Jermaine. They made their mark on local cricket. You also had a Shillingford's 11. I smile at this, Of course, Irvin would feature Grayson. And Dan Shillingford, who thinks that is the best cricketer ever. also featured there too. But I want to bring the curtains down on a club that was sponsored by DCP. It's called Summits. In 1983, a group of young men who returned from St. Lucia, of course, under 19 cricketers who were victorious at that tournament, under the guidance of Mr. Jean Faustin, got together to play in Division 1 cricket, and they became a tremendous force in Dominica's cricket. And you had people like Kent Williams, Joey Pierre. At one point, Joey was referred to the Rock of Gibraltar. You remember that? Ozzy was the gentleman who gave him that name because he was so solid and massive in the middle order for Dominica. Joey Pierre, who now lives in the US, Roy Marshall, and of course, one of the probably most skillful and natural off spinners in Dominica, I think, Leroy Johnris. He was massive. You know, I know TK doesn't feel too jealous, but you'll remember Leroy. He was good. He was brilliant. Yes, Billy? Yeah, Leroy Johnris in Soufriere. Leroy? Yeah. So Leroy is part of this setup, you know, in 1983. People like Eddie Bruno and so on. Yeah, and we came back and really made our name in Dominica's cricket. I think about 99% of those guys, in 93, went on to play for the senior team. And as I transition into people who would have been at the helm of Dominica's cricket in terms of, you know, administration, the former Prime Minister, Mr. Edison James, of course, was president. Vincent Elwin, Felix Gregoire, Joey Pialty, of course, Mr. Emmanuel Nantonin, and then presently Mr. Glenn Joseph. So those persons would have impacted seriously on Dominica's cricket. And I know it's, as I end this part here, DBS Radio again, you know, in 50 years, congratulations to you. But I want to just mention quickly Jean Faustin, Desmond Doblin, Blaise John, Caleb Laurent, this is, you know, Thomas Kentish, Joseph Gist. I'm sure these guys are proud that I'm standing here. They all had an impact, you know, in terms of my cricketing knowledge and skill. So maybe if they were not that, you know, influential in my development, I would not be standing here. So, you know, I want to recognize you here. Yeah. The first recorded match, 1912-1913, Dominica played against St. Kitts in the Hesketh Bell Shield. 1925, there was a gap, 26 to 1932. They continued to play in that same competition. In 1938-39, the Windward Islands, Dominica played in the Challenge Cup, the Windward Islands Challenge Cup. It is recorded that Merrill Anthony was the first Dominican to play first-class cricket for Dominica, for British Guyana. And then, you know, players of note, Merrill Anthony, Alec Reed, Val Felix, Caleb Laurent, Irvin Shillingford, Grayson Shillingford, Norbert Phillip, Henry Elwin, Clem John, Vincent Elwin, Thomas Kentish, Vernon Aline, Lockhart Sebastian, Jevan Etienne, Mervyn Durand, Gifford Walsh, Joey Pierre, Leroy John Lewis, Roy Marshall, Liam Sebastian, Shane Shillingford, Adam Sanford, Kavem Hodge, and of course, Alec Athanas are names that will resonate in our minds for a long time. The records show that Vivian Eli was the first Dominican to play for the Windward Islands. And of course, to date, Gillan Tyson, who was just contracted by the Volcanoes, would bring that curtain down on those persons who represented the Windward Islands. We have Clem John, Irvin Shillingford, Norbert Phillip, Lockhart Sebastian, Liam Sebastian, and Kavem Hodge. So far, our Dominicans who captained the Windward Islands. Frank Mason from St. Vincent, of course, was the first gentleman to captain the Windwards, and of course, the last person there being Kavem Hodge from Dominica. I mentioned Frank Mason because, of course, we have a Dominican who himself has been at helm of the Windwards cricket. Interestingly, two Bajans, Kyle Mayers, Kirk Edwards, both captained the Windwards, the 22nd and 23rd captains. And in terms of percentages of wins, Kirk Edwards had a 42% win, Darren Sammy 40%, Liam Sebastian, interestingly enough, a Dominican, 40%, and Norbert Phillip had a 33% win, you know, being captain of the Windward Islands. Grayson Shillingford, Irvin Shillingford, those names continue to pile on. Norbert Phillip, Philip the Freitas, Adam Sanford, Shane Shillingford, who of course is the first Dominican to play a test match at home. all played Test cricket for the West Indies. And as I move on, it would be remiss of me not to mention women's cricket. Eugenia Blanc and Julius Brown are persons who were first involved in 1995 to 2002, right, when Dominica first participated in regional women's cricket. 2001, Dominica defeated Guyana by 143 runs, and in 2015, Dominica defeated St. Lucia, the two recorded wins that Dominica had. Of course, we must mention Doris Francis in 2003, who played for the West Indies, and in 2010, Pearl Etienne, who is here with us this evening. The Combined Islands, I mentioned that because, of course, Irvin Shillingford, again, Grayson Shillingford, Norbert Phillip, Lockhart Sebastian, Clem Atama John, who scored 94 against Trinidad and Tobago in St. Lucia, Jerome Mello and Caleb Laura, all Dominicans who played for the Combined Islands. Of course, you talk about 7 players. And that tells you historically that how dominant and how good our cricket was to have so many Dominicans on the Combined Islands, the 4 Windward Islands, and of course the rest of the Leeward Islands. And some key achievements by those persons. We had a first wicket partnership between Lockhart and Michael Camacho, 139 against Trinidad in 1976, against Trinidad and Tobago. A second wicket partnership again between Lockhart and Jim Allen, 118 runs. And these are important achievements. That was 1975-76 versus Guyana in St. Kitts. A fourth wicket partnership between Irvin Shillingford and Victor Eddy, 164 runs in 1976-77 versus Trinidad and Tobago. A sixth wicket partnership between Irvin Shillingford and Derek Murray, again a Dominican feature in here, 111 runs in 77-78 versus Barbados in St. Lucia. And that had to be quality, of course, against Barbados. A seventh wicket partnership again, Irvin Shillingford and Alfred Corriett, 109, okay, in 1970-73 versus Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, our own, wonderful all-rounder in Norbert Phillip, who with Elkin Willett put together 110 for the 8th wicket in 72-73 versus Barbados in Barbados. Ladies and gentlemen, that had to be quality. Quality batting, quality cricket. Yeah, you have to read that anytime, anywhere. Mr. Moderator, I need some more time. Because while we are all here and able, yes, sir.
The minister just told me that he addressed me as the speaker, and he told me to move a motion that Mr. Thomas be given 3 additional minutes to finish his presentation. Shall we move on seconded? The ayes have it.
Thank you, thank you. It means that I'm having an impact in terms of presenting some history, Dominica's cricket history. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And very quickly, and you'll understand why that motion was supported. Because we cannot forget our physically challenged brothers and sisters. And I talk about blind cricket. Yes, blind cricket. July 2003, Barbados versus England. January 2004, England toured Barbados. January 2005, England toured Jamaica. May 2005, Barbados played Trinidad and Tobago. May 2006, Dominica played against St. Lucia. Oh yes, blind cricket. In May 2007, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados and St. Lucia played a tri-nation tournament. In July 2006, was the first regional blind tournament. In July 2006, very important dates. In December 2006, West Indies team played in the 3rd World Cup tournament for blind players, blind cricketers. And of course, we want to note that in 2010, Dominica participated in the 5th regional blind tournament. Of course, we have to put our hands together for the persons who were involved at that time, having, or physically challenged, brothers and sisters participate in cricket. So you see how important it is. Cricket is to us. And even at that time, we had our brothers, who couldn't see too well, playing cricket. In 2011, the last recorded blind tournament, which was held in Jamaica. And I want to make mention of a gentleman here, Vondi Regis, who is from Dalis. Yeah, he was probably our top blind cricketer. Of course, before he became, visually challenged, He was a very good cricketer, very, very good cricketer. And of course, I just want to note quickly there that it would be remiss of me, though, to not to mention Dave Cottingham, who was instrumental in getting young cricketers to the UK. Dave Cottingham at SMA, very instrumental. Leroy Jones, Kent Williams, Roy Marshall, those guys benefited. Mervyn Durant, and of course, myself, benefit from this venture. Interestingly enough, in not too distant history, Dominica's team was made up of mainly rural players. That's how strong, cricket was in the rural communities. However, I don't know if it's sad to say that, but you had to be involved in a team based on Roseau to actually play for Dominica. And I'm not too sure if that was that's what happened at the time. But cricket, lovely cricket, would not be cricket if I were to miss out on Philip Allain, may soul rest in peace, one of our, I call that the old guard, Thomas Baptist, John Simon, Billy Doctorow, I can't miss that, Lennox Abraham, John Odin, Mr. Checker Williams, Ashworth Simon, Francis Williams, Rogers Larrock, Michael Royer. These people, of course, would have had a serious impact on Dominica's cricket, and without the umpires, of course, we would not be talking cricket history. And as I end, I would like, there to probably say our condolences to the family and friends of Forbes Charles, Mr. Forbes Charles, okay? I want us to remember them, as we continue to discuss cricket and enjoy the rest of the evening. Mr. Moderator, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to those in the room and those listening via radio and, of course, the internet. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin, for a wonderful presentation. As we recognize, the theme for the discussion is cricket culture, more than just a game. But each presenter has a particular area that they'll be covering, and as we recognize, Marvin was looking at the historical perspective of Dominica cricket. So our next presenter, Miss Pearl Etienne, former West Indies player, she'll be looking at women's cricket in Dominica. Please welcome Pearl.
Honorable Senator Oscar George, Minister responsible for telecommunication and broadcasting. Mr. Dennis Joseph, former manager. DBS Radio and Chair, DBS 50th Anniversary Committee. Mr. Billy Doctorow, Moderator. Mr. Marvin Gavin Richards, Chair for tonight's panel discussion. Fellow speakers, Mr. Marvin Thomas, Mr. Glenn Joseph, Mr. Emmanuel Lantan, invited guests, friends, and well-wishers. A pleasant good evening to everyone. It's an honor to be with you as we share our views, experiences, and suggestions on cricket and the cricket culture in Dominica. Highlights from my experience and benefits in cricket. February 2020, representing Dominica in St. Lucia, Jem Elwa and I made history. We scored 199 runs, not out partnership. This was the longest partnership scored for Dominica women in a very long time. Dominica won the game with a total of 249 runs when we played against Grenada. '19 regional tournament while playing my first game for Dominica in St. Lucia, against St. Lucia, I suffered a broken finger. I was bowling when I moved to field the ball to my left. While walking back to my position, I felt my little finger different. I took a look at my hand. I saw my finger like a Dominica road. I started screaming and rolling on the field. I was transported to the hospital where the doctor said to me, "Miss Etienne, this is it for cricket this time around." I looked at the coach, who was Ray Shillingford at the time, and I told him, "Coach, I did not come to St. Lucia to sit down on a bench." I went on to play my games and was the only Dominican to make Windward's team that year. I still remember the Grenada coach Junior Murray saying, "I never thought I would witness this again." Recounting his experience when Sir Vivian Richards broke his finger in a test match and he played with that broken finger. In his words, "And here I am witnessing a woman doing this. I was given the name Lionheart. It was an experience I will never forget." 2009, I was selected to try out on the West Indies women team. I did not make the team. I recall staying 1 week crying, not eating, and isolating myself. I was devastated, but I recovered and went on to train even harder than the previous year. 2010, after an outstanding performance in the West Indies Women Regional Tournament, I got selected on the West Indies women team. Most wickets. When I received that call, I started to scream and jump. That was the first person I ran to was my mother, who was overjoyed. She started to hug me, and we were so excited in that moment, we completely forgot that she was at work. Her fellow workers were staring at us like we were crazy. That same year, I traveled to South Africa with the West Indies women cricket team, my first tour. I only played 1 game on this tour, making it the first out of 8 ODIs and 13 T20 international. I played with the West Indies women team. 2012, I made history in Dominica, becoming the first Dominican woman to play in the with the West Indies women's team in the Windsor Park Sports Stadium. I took 1 wicket, and I can still recall my family screaming in the crowd. There was a bit of a disappointment because about 2 catches of my bowling were dropped, and I didn't get a chance to bat. I got the opportunity to travel, see the world, and meet numerous people through cricket. Challenges women have in cricket. One personal challenge I have faced is the inability to keep a full-time job. Because of the time I needed to train and travel, it was a disadvantage to any employee. I believe we can put things in place to address this. Maybe a small contribution to our players. I believe it will help more young women, especially our youth, to show interest in the sport. The women are not getting to play enough cricket. If we are not traveling, we are not playing. We do not even train unless there's an upcoming game. We need to have more cricket games and leagues in the place to keep us fit and active. Not enough exposure to the game, especially for young women. No women cricket academy. No schools teach it as part as a curriculum. Well, some schools have it, but it's mainly for young men, not women. For a woman to learn the game, we have to train with the men. After all, that's how I started. Transportation is another challenge when there is training, especially for the women living in the countryside. Some of the women have to pay bus to travel to town for training. They have to pay from their pockets. And in itself, it's another challenge, because sometimes the bus fee is not a top priority when people have to work. And in some cases, they have family or children to care for. One of the biggest challenges facing women's cricket in Dominica is lack of funding. For example, when we travel, a stipend can be given to the players. I know a few of the other territories doing this, like Barbados, Trinidad, and Jamaica. We can even look into getting the private sector involved. I remember once the National Bank of Dominica sponsored uniforms to the national women's team when we were traveling. Some ideas and suggestions on what can be done to improve women's cricket in Dominica. The Dominica Cricket Association can have meetings with the senior players, past and present. At this meeting, we can keep discussions to have the senior players like Sharon Gregory, Doris Francis, Rosalie Regis, Annika Benjamin, Annika Andrew, to come together to go to the different schools and talk to the students about cricket. We can even start at the primary school level. Another thing we can do is organize summer programs for young girls, teaching them the basics of the game. Getting the youth involved at an early age can help them develop interest in the game. I am looking forward to a day when we can host an annual women's cricket festival, something we can use as a source of fundraising to go towards the funding of women's cricket. We can look into starting a cricket academy for women, young and grown. We have more than enough qualified women and men here. We can all work together to bring cricket to the next level in Dominica. I would like to thank DBS Radio, UWI, and Dr. Kimon Joseph for giving me the opportunity to speak here tonight. Special thank you to my sister for assisting me with my presentation. A pleasant night to everyone.
Thank you, Pearl, for your presentation, which had me really thinking about all the critical areas that you highlighted, which we as administrators in sports in Dominica need to reflect on seriously to ensure that women's cricket is given the kind of support that it needs. At this time, we take a break from our sponsors.
AutoTrade Limited is your #1 choice for all your automotive needs. We have the best in new and reconditioned vehicles. For over 25 years, AutoTrade has represented top quality brands like Suzuki, Kia, Nissan, and Hyundai commercial trucks. We are the leading provider for genuine auto parts and accessories at affordable prices. Need your car fixed? Our trained and certified technicians will do it right the first time with professional service, using state-of-the-art equipment, getting you back on the road in no time. And did you know we provide hassle-free financing on all your vehicles? We are the best choice for a complete automotive experience, from purchase to parts and service. Because at AutoTrade, it's not just a vehicle, it's a relationship.
You've got the edge over your circumstances. Many times there'll be trials to face, at least when it comes to your waning finances. You've got the edge, help is coming your way. You've got big edge for those days when you're running low. Big edge is the place to go. Big edge, the cash can be in your hand with the easiest payment plans. Cash in a flash.
Thank you and welcome back. At this time, we call on Mr. Glenn Joseph. And all of us love talking about cricket on the international stage, especially West Indies cricket, but everything starts locally. And Mr. Glenn Joseph the president of the Dominica Cricket Association will be looking at administration of local cricket. Mr. Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Doctorov. Good evening to listeners of DBS Radio and here and abroad. Well, I would want to save my time by accepting the protocol that has already been established because there is this referee here waiting to catch you when you go overboard. Let me begin by commending DBS Radio for hosting such a timely event and an accepted theme as well. I think both fits in here. I'm also grateful for the opportunity to speak to us as a nation on the administration of local cricket. It's not an easy task, but we will get there if we put the right things in place. Let me first say that administration of cricket basically would really fit into the theme cricket culture more than just a game. And as I discuss with us tonight, you will understand clearly where we were and where we are and where we should be as a people as it relates to cricket. When I read the theme, first off, it reminded me of a conversation that I was having with a gentleman abroad 6 months ago. And in a nutshell, I was able to answer. And the question basically was, what is it that you think we need to revamp cricket and to stop the rapid decline of cricket, as you know? And the answer is basically simple, to be able to be aware of the culture and not much of the sport itself. In my mind, a country basically will be recognized and remembered by its culture, how strong it is culturally, as well as our youth will excel when our nation is strong culturally and in sports. And if you were to look at a country like Jamaica, when you talk about reggae music, no matter where you are in the world, once you talk about reggae music, the country that you must think of is Jamaica. And that is why it's good to be strong culturally. How does culture fit into the administration of cricket? You would remember, and the former Marvin spoke about it a little bit on the history, culture basically is what is embedded in us. It speaks of, before I get there, let me say that when we played cricket before, we depended on what we had. The thing that you'd call a little bat cocoa hair. We did not have a stadium at the time. We played on the roadside, in the backyards. We played at recess time and at lunch time. We played amongst ourselves in all sorts of conditions. And you realize that it was what we knew. But as time evolved and technology crept in, you realize that the youth diverted the attention to the gadgets and what really became the game itself. If you speak to any of our kids right now, what are you doing? I'm playing a game. I'm playing a game. So what we knew to be the physical aspect
of cricket, which really was what we were involved with that would help us mentally, our boys now play the game of cricket in the bedroom and in the living room. So that is where the shift happened. We moved from the actual culture to the game itself. So it became a flair, it became an excitement, and the passion really died. And this is something that we have to consider. As administrators, we must understand the needs of the sport to effectively execute our duties. And we must understand that time is moving past very quickly. Our 3-year-olds, or let's say 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, will be able to handle these gadgets more effective than us. If you give this to me tonight, or a brand new thing like this to me tonight, and you give it to my 9-year-old, he will learn it in one night. I will learn it in 1 year. And this is where we are. It means that our mindset as it relates to the culture of the game must change. Our mindset. As time evolves and technology increases, administrators must be prepared to be willing to do things differently. So don't expect the president or the current president of the Dominica Cricket Association to operate like a man did 20 years ago. Don't expect that from me. As a matter of fact, if we try to administrate cricket now as it was then, we're doomed to fail. We cannot, because we are now living in a game era and not a culture era. It was, and just a simple example I want to give you tonight. As an administrator, and as a one who heads the sport of cricket on Ireland, it is very difficult for myself and Nantan to get guys to play a fet match. Very difficult. Hey guys, just do the invitation, cook a food, buy a few beers, and have fun. It was so easy to do that in the past. Everyone is waiting for DCA to organize that. So it means that we've lost some of these things. When I think of the word culture, in my mind, it speaks to two things. One, passion. How do we revamp the passion that once existed to make the game of cricket or the sport of cricket a cultural thing and not really a game, much more, not too much of a game, but more cultural. Like I said, we played the sport of cricket with everything we had, everything we had. And we must encourage persons to be able to accept the fact that cricket can be a livelihood. And while you play for fun, but you must seek to educate yourself in the sport of cricket. And Pearl said a little of it here tonight, where she said, was really saying in a nutshell, we must start to teach cricket in schools to revamp that passion and to build that culture. And I think when I thought of this, I realized that the statement that she made really was the way to really go, to ensure that we keep the young men in the sport of cricket. Because I will tell you, I have 4 young boys playing cricket. One 10 years old, doing very well. Well, they are not here now. They are on the island of Barbados. One is, well, 3 of them actually are on the Windward Islands cricket team. So I can speak to that. And when I grew up, I had no backyard. And my father, my brothers, well, I had a lot of them, 7 of us, did not have to motivate me to go play cricket. I mean, this little alley between the kitchen and the house, I was able to fit in. We were able to fit in and see, oh, we can put in a quick pitch there and do some stuff. And my sons now, when they grew up, they had their own cricket facility in the backyard. And I would, as a father, would have to say to them, it's time to go train. So you will understand that the passion that I once had, the boys don't have the passion. It's like a game. So we need basically to revamp really the passion. Culture basically speaks of unity. We played together. People don't even want to associate now. And if we're going to administrate cricket, it means that we have to do it together. We cannot be fighting each other and we talk about cricket administration. Dominica Cricket Association, let me say here, is not Glenn Joseph and the 8 other members on the board. It's every one of us. We can't fight each other. And I will speak to that a little later down. So I want to say here that for us to revamp or develop that good cricketing culture, we must do it together. It must be done together. We are never too good for somebody. And how do we get young men or motivate young people when they see us divided? And I speak to the coaches a lot about that. That if you're going to coach people, children, you must first show them how you as coaches unite. And agree even when you disagree. Or don't even disagree in their presence. Because you are building, I'm right on time, because you want to build a formidable force for tomorrow. We need to start at a very tender age. And there is great need for academies. And I'm talking about academies at a very young age, from 5 to 10, 6 to 10, 5 to 9 years. Because these are the minds that we can culture. You can take a 13, 14-year-old man that sleeps outside on a Friday night and culture him into a sport, you know. You take these little kids and you teach them the game, the discipline of the game, the love of the game. You teach them the importance of the game. And then by this, you culture that young man. And in the end, you will realize that you have guys that will represent your country tomorrow. And that's why it's important to look at the bigger picture. Lots of training programs. You know, I'm not the person, and people who serve with me can attest to the fact that I am not too much after playing cricket. I am after training and educating people about the sport of cricket. Because my intention during COVID, basically, and I'll say that publicly, was to just train people. No competitions out there, no teams for guys to look forward to making this year. Let's just train people, educate people, train scorers, train umpires, train young men and women on a weekly basis. And this is really what I advocate as an administrator. So like I said, the need for partnership too is very important. We cannot do it on our own. So everyone must play a part in the process. And to name a few, the past and present cricketers must form a part of that. Our past cricketers are too far from the administration of cricket. Sad to say, but it's true. You play a very integral part or integral role in reculturing the minds of our youngsters. Coaches, the private sector, parents, oh my God, this is one we must zero in on. Parents, central government as well. Minister is here, he should be able to attest to that. Radio stations, like what DBS is doing now, this is honorable. This and DBS has played its part in the development of the sport for a number of years. I could call the manager of DBS on any given day at any event we're having, and DBS will respond positively. I can say that publicly. Umpires, and the list goes on. And finally, I hope I'm doing well, sir, we must encourage and organize community competition. And I think the sports division is doing a lot of that. And that is commendable, of course. We see the example of a cricket competition that has transformed the village of Paybush. Really transformed. There's a village that was really known to be a basketball village. And we've organized a cricket competition on the basketball court. And that has hit the village and the world by storm. So these are some of the things that we need to encourage, competitions. And like the young lady said, club structure. Club structure is important. That's when we were strong, when our clubs were strong. We were strong culturally. So my little discourse here today, I hope this helps us, enlighten us a little bit on how we can accept the fact that we don't just need to play cricket or use it as a form of enjoyment, but it can be cultured in the minds of really those who play it. So thanks for listening, and may you enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph, for your reflections on the difficulties that we all know face administrators locally, not only in cricket, but in most of the sports. One thing that you mentioned that I want to pick up on is what I myself share very, very strongly in terms of competitions and training. I think this is one of the areas that I believe that I think all associations need to look at more seriously and pay more attention in training and having coaching programs than just competitions. Competitions have their place, they have their part to play, but the coaching of the players are exceptionally important. So right now we go to our final panelist, who is a well-known gentleman in administration of cricket locally until he moved on to greater things regionally and internationally. And he'll be looking at cricket administration of the region and international. We call on His Excellency Ambassador Emmanuel Nanton.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Be the doctor of Mr. Moderator. Can I ask the crowd to stand, please? Let's take a fresh guard. We have been here for a while, you know. Let's take a fresh guard. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Umpire. Thank you very much, everybody. The pleasure is mine to grace this podium here tonight His Excellency, Mr. Doctorov, Moderator, Honorable Minister, Oscar, the manager, both current and former manager of DBS Radio, my fellow panelists, the other sports administrators from other associations around the island, the members of the sports division, the umpires, the crowd, the people here. Tonight, let me just welcome you and say thank you very much to be here with us. Let me, Mr. Chairman, congratulate DBS Radio for, of course, celebrating 50 years of achievement. 50 years, 50 glorious years of providing good service to Dominica, to the OECS Windward Islands, and the wider world, to Dominicans all over. It is indeed a pleasure being here to speak with you on cricket, a glorious game. Cricket, a game really that brought us to the heights, many, many great heights, and sometimes some steep valleys. Cricket is, in fact, a very, very interesting game. There's a paradox in cricket, you know. It is the game where we had that nationalistic pride of the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, where we represented not just the Caribbean civilization, but the black world. Black people the world over. That's where we were. I recall, Mr. Chair, when I went out to university in England in the early 90s, one of my professors was from Sri Lanka. But he could tell me everything about every cricketer in the West Indies team. Because we as a Caribbean people, we as people of color, represented them in Sri Lanka too. And they were so proud of our heroes. Those who went back to the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. He knew all of them. He knew their family, he knew their records. That's what we did. I can't forget, Mr. Chair, that my great comrade and friend, my teacher, Rosie Douglas, had to make it his point of duty to go to South Africa after the liberation of apartheid, and West Indies had the first tour in South Africa. Because the comrade Rosie knew what cricket meant to the black people of South Africa during the oppressed days, oppressed years, really, in South Africa. That is the game that we are talking about tonight. That is the game that still exists. And the passion of the game, I would say, is not gone. If we scratch the surface, it will still be there. It will still come out. Think what would have happened, Mr. Chair, tonight if West Indies had won the last two games. Think of the pride of our Caribbean people. Think of the pride of our Dominicans. Think, Mr. Moderator, of what would have happened if Kavem Hodge was on the team, or if Alec Athanas, or when Alec Athanas makes his debut, if he goes on to score 2 centuries in his first 3 matches. Think of that. Think of the passion that that game would do. Think of the inspiration that we as a country, as a nation, would have in this great game called cricket. Mr. Chair, it is a game where we fought representing our people the world over, yes. Today, it is a little different. Today, we have the game where a number of our players are making good money. The game has changed. And you have now the T20 and the T10s. So we use our history and our black oppression and our tying to the sugarcane factories, the sugar estates all over, and the athleticism to go to represent. Today, we are here, and it's a different situation. And we have to learn to manage and to bring it in. And in administration, all those things come into effect. So today, we still have quite a lot of players playing internationally. Just the other day, West Indies was playing, but we had 22 players playing in Abu Dhabi, in the T10, playing internationally and making money over there. So there is still talent. There is still interest in West Indies cricket. This week, I listened to Jimmy Adams speaking on cricket, and he was saying the game has moved from having the academies in the villages and in the streets and in the clubs to a more formal academy. Before, every corner was an academy. Every village had its own academy with the older players teaching the younger ones. Unfortunately, we don't see the back cocoa anymore. We don't see all the softball leagues and the inter-village competitions anymore. As a result, we have to go to the more formal academies. And Dominica hasn't done too badly in doing that. A few years ago, when Kevin Hodge came from playing at the under-19 level, we ensured that we sent him to the Darren Lehman Academy in Australia to expose him to some of the best academies in the world. When he came back, we ensured that we sent him to UWI because they had a very good program there. And people like Calvin, people like Minister Oscar George, who is here tonight, went to UWI Academy as well. And Liam Sebastian. So even though they did not make the cricketing success, here he is, representation. Oscar went to UWI on a cricket scholarship. Liam went to UWI on a cricket scholarship. We had Gideon Tyson went there. Gian Benjamin went there on cricket scholarships. These are Dominicans we were sent to academies. Yes, today we have our academy out at Benjamin's Park, where we're still going to train players, and people like Sam Conan, a tremendous asset for Dominica cricket. A man who is committed, who is devoted, who is dedicated, who is gifted, and who is patient in wanting to do it. And the assistants for the coaches who work with them, people like Mervyn and Phoenix and others. So we have to do the formal academies right now. And I would say, once we could identify the young players and provide them with the training of the academies, we could still get there. Alec Athanas is a case in point. Not too long ago, I saw a young man from Penville batting in the school competition from PSS at the under-15 level. He looked very good. Just last week in the school under-13, a young man made 100 runs in a 10-over match. Lobia Charles under-13 scored 100 not too long. So the talents are still there. They can't play too many big games as we did before in the 70s and the 80s, but the formal academies will do it. And today, we are working in the Cricket Academy to ensure that we will be building an indoor facility for our cricketers to play in. The future has to be planned properly. And when you talk of administration at the regional level, Mr. Chair, the President spoke of the local level. At the regional level, it is a lot of putting together and coordinating. Jigsaw puzzle. As administrators, there are so many things that you have to do with moving situations. It's never static. It's one way today, but something different later tonight, and even so much more different tomorrow morning. And tomorrow night, it is something completely different. But you have to manage and put them together as administrators. At the Windward's level, it was depending a lot on the local boards, on Dominica and St. Lucius and Vincent and Grenada separately and put it together. But at Windward's, it was very challenging because every time you had to have a competition, you had to dish out more than $250,000. Can you imagine? When you have to pay tickets for the teams to travel, that's a lot of money. And then you have to put the players in hotels for a week plus. That's a lot of money. Meals and rooms, etc., a lot of money. And of course, at the Windward's level, the private sector is not very big. So it made it very, very, very challenging. So it depended a lot on the skills and capacity of the local associations, be they Dominica, St. Lucius, and Vincent Grenada. That was very, very challenging at managing and administering at the Windward's level. Then you go on to the West Indies level, and boy, that is something else. In addition to ensuring that you identify talents for the future, you have to look at the talents that you have now. And you still have to keep those who went by happy. But to do that, you needed money. It is a business as well. So I recall one of my biggest challenges as an administrator, when Dave Cameron and I took over the board, the president called me and he said, "Comrade, you know, we need some skills. We need some diplomacy. I need you to go to represent the West Indies board at the ICC meeting in the Golden Triangle in Singapore. And you need to negotiate with India. And if you don't succeed, Comrade Boxer, don't come back." Because at the West Indies level, to do the things you're talking about for the academics and so many things, you need money. When at the international level, it takes the money for West Indies does not come from when you come to Windsor Park and fill it up. As a matter of fact, if you play at Windsor Park and you fill up the stadium, if you take all the money you make from the gate, it was never enough to pay the police and the security. That is the truth. The money comes from the TV. And TV money comes basically from two countries, India and England. Australia might break even. All the others, you lose. So if you come to play anywhere, any other country, you have to dish out hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, US dollars, because you lose. So Cameron and I decided we're going to ensure that we played India and England. He said, "Comrade, I am going to do England, you have to negotiate India for me." So he sent me to Singapore to negotiate with India. And the Indians can be troublesome. So you're in a room there at the hotel, talking there, going to the lobby there, and the man in charge not coming to talk to you. He's sending other people. And you have to jigspoos. But at the end of that period, we were able to sign the contract. I signed the contract with the Indians right there at the end of that ICC conference in Singapore, where India was going to come to the Caribbean every other year during the period. And Cameron succeeded in getting England to come to the Caribbean. So if you realize, during our leadership of West Indies cricket, we had England and or India coming to the West Indies almost every year. Brothers and sisters, West Indies cricket is around for about 100 years. The first year West Indies cricket had a surplus was after we hosted the World Cup here in the Caribbean in 2008. The first year ever. And the only other years the West Indies had a surplus was during those years when we negotiated with India because of that Sri Lanka, that Singapore experience and signing contract, and when Cameron signed with England. So in the 6 years, we were able to make profits, surplus, 3 times. So in 100 years, West Indies cricket had a surplus at the end of the year only 4 times. 3 of them was done with us. That was what we were able to do. And then the money from those surpluses we were able to use to provide the players with security. Because all players would come from playing cricket and go and work concrete, or go and cut here, or go and drive bus. So we used those monies to ensure that we put 120 players on contracts. So West Indies, Windwards, all the players were on contracts, 15 of them, 15 in Barbados, 15 in Jamaica, 15 in Trinidad, Guyana, etc. Every territory had 15 players on contract. We used those monies to buy the first property for West Indies board. West Indies board, in 100 years, never had a foot of land that it called its own. Never. As a matter of fact, we used to have the academy at Barbados, and we're spending over $1 million every year for the high performance center in Barbados. But it was built at the UWI Center. UWI, thank you very much. We appreciate it then. And we still appreciate your presence here and supporting us here tonight. But we say, you know something? If we put that in our own building or property, our balance sheet is going to reflect increased asset at the end of the year. So we negotiated, I called my friend, my political friend, Hartley Henry out of Barbados, and said, Hartley, we need to get some support here. So we said we're going to run a competition between Barbados and Antigua to see which one will give us more. So we negotiated with Barbados and with Antigua until when we went to Antigua, the Prime Minister said, okay, I'll give you 9 acres of land next to the Viv Richards Stadium. And then the property came up for sale, the Stanford grounds, and we bought it with the government of Antigua. So that's how West Indies got their first property as a company in 100 years. So that was just a little bit of the intricacies of West Indies administration internationally there. But you mentioned also USACA. You know, I served during that time, I was given the opportunity to look at USA cricket. Mr. Chair, in the world of sports, not just cricket, the biggest sporting market is the United States. The companies that spend money in sports is the United States, just there. The biggest cricketing market is India, the IPL. The companies that sponsor the IPL are American companies. Pepsi Cola, KFC, etc. So the money in world cricket comes from just the other side. So we tried very well to try to tap that market there. But because of the control that India has on the market, they want competition. So you won't see Dominica playing in the Olympics in cricket. Neither would you see England or New Zealand or Bangladesh. Squeeze that a little bit, shine it a little bit. So they force you to forfeit. So they will say, maybe we'll consider women playing in the Olympics, but we don't want to dilute the influence of the IPL. So we have that issues there. So in the United States, there are hundreds of cricket teams. The sponsors are there. In the US, you could market TV anywhere else. But the US have markets, they have millions of people from India, from Bangladesh, from West Indies, right there in America. So there is a market there. But cricket in America was controlled for a long time by the West Indians in America. And they had that fight with the Indians in America. And the ICC, under the influence, had continued that fight, so nobody could take control. So the United States is diluted and kept out. As a matter of fact, Mr. Chair, I recall at one point negotiating with USACA to run a T20 league in America. And the monies that they were going to make was so much more that we had negotiated for West Indies for our T20 tournament. But again, that was frustrated by the powers that be on international cricket because of the competition. But the markets are still there, things are still there. But I know you told me, Mr. Chair, that time is limited. I'm just saying, my dear friends, that tonight it is my pleasure to be here. We are here discussing a great sport, a sport that has been and will continue to be a great influence for all of us. A sport we need to pay some attention to. A sport where we can still do well. We as a nation cannot give up. The talents are still there. The expectations and passion of our people are still there. We can do well. West Indies can do well. With all of our support, West Indies will do well. I wish DBS, again, heartfelt congratulations. I wish you success as you continue to serve Dominica and the region. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you, Ambassador Nandan, for your passionate presentation here this evening. And many of us recognize the politics, international politics that goes in administering, in particular, cricket. At this time, we're going to take a break from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have an open question session.
You've got the edge over your circumstances. Many times there'll be trials to face. At least when it comes to your waning finances, you've got the edge, help Big Edge is the place to go. The cash can be in your hand with the easiest payment plans. Cash in a flash.
Go, 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 go! It's time for the Copa America Games. Enjoy every game live in the SportsMax app, at home or on the go, all the way to the finals. And it gets even better. With the Digicel Prime Bundle, you get simply more hours of streaming and dedicated data just for your SportsMax app. Download now on Android or iOS. The SportsMax app. Simply more sports.
AutoTrade Limited is your #1 choice for all your automotive needs. We have the best in new and reconditioned vehicles. For over 25 years, AutoTrade has represented top quality brands like Suzuki, Kia, Nissan, and Hyundai commercial trucks. We are the leading provider for genuine auto parts and accessories at affordable prices. Need your car fixed? Our trained and certified technicians will do it right the first time with professional service, using state-of-the-art equipment, getting you back on the road in no time. And did you know we provide hassle-free financing on all your vehicles? We are the best choice for a complete automotive experience, from purchase to parts and service. Because at AutoTrade, it's not just a vehicle, it's a relationship.
Thank you and welcome back. As I said at the very inception, I knew that we were in for a wonderful and informative evening, and so far I've been proven right by our panelists, the level of presentations. What we're going to do now, we're going to open up the floor for discussion, questions, or any other comments. You can address it to any individual member of the panel, or address it openly, and any one of them or myself will try to shed some light on any of your concerns or questions. We have a mic at the back, so if you want to make a presentation, ask a question, comments, feel free and use the mic. So we are open for questions and comments. So what I said about the ladies and cricket, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question, I believe, for Mr. Ben Joseph, as you spoke so passionately about the administration. Of course, His Excellency Manuel did as well. But my question for you, Mr. Joseph, of course, as in reference to the administration again of cricket, you said that we cannot manage it now as we did then. And you spoke, of course, of the culture and the passion that probably we would have had then and not now. But would you agree that our administration itself may have failed for many times? And what I mean to say is that I can relate to some other folks, maybe not for cricket especially, but you would have heard stories of folks who had to represent Dominica in the various sports, and they would have said how much they had to struggle even to represent Dominica overseas, how much they would have to take from their own pockets to represent their own countries. So wouldn't you agree that the administration would have failed over time, seeing that now the culture that you asked for is lacking, maybe because there would have been some form of discouragement for future parties?
Yeah, good question. In everything that you do, there is always the room for improvement and error as well. One of the things that I believe is that we tend to shift blame for when people don't do well. Where I would agree with you on administrations in the past have failed, and you were making mention, like I said, that there was a shift. The shift basically was almost evident based on the fact that we had this rapid move with technology and all that, and there was great need for doing things differently. And I believe as administrators, we did not catch up with the times because as time evolves, like I said, there was need to do things differently. So I think, yeah, I mean, in one way we failed, but on the other hand, we still have to understand that some persons should not get discouraged because they did not succeed one way.
I have one question for Mr. Thomas, Marvin Thomas. In your slides, I noticed you mentioned a lot about, mostly men stats. And Pearl did give us a little, tip on their performance. So I want to ask you if you do remember what score it is that Pearl and Gem scored in partnership in 2020. Maybe you can include it, in your stats for next time. Do you remember?
No.
Okay, their score was 199 in partnership, not out. So in outstanding performances like that, for women, maybe next time, we can have that as part of your history, and your statistics.
Do I need to come to the mic? I deliberately did not react to what you asked. I can't be like that. So you did answer the question for me. Statistics, sometimes I ask Joseph Thomas, when was the last time Dominica won a tournament? And I ask him, who can give that to me? And that, I think, is our biggest drawback. It was very difficult for me to put this together. And that is why I was so reluctant in answering Mr. Joseph, right, about doing this. It was very challenging to put this together and to put it together in a nutshell just for 15 minutes. So I don't know what the administrators of cricket can do. I have a lot of information. And most times when maybe Mr. Joseph or if Mr. Nantan wants something, he can ask me. Because I try to make it a point of duty as a coach, and even as an individual who is involved to keep statistics. My bio tonight didn't show that, but I did serve for 10 years with Mr. Nantan as an administrator of cricket. Yes, I did serve in that capacity. So I think it's important, and that's an important point you're making, that sometimes we take people like you for granted. And that we think that you will never ask a question or have an interest in, what Pearl did or what Glenn did. Because in the room have a lot of people who aspired to be national players. Some of them played at the under 19 level. So I think Mr. Joseph, I think it's important that from tonight that your present administration of cricket need to make it a point of duty to begin to put some statistics together. So at least, not just when DBS celebrate 50 years or maybe when they reach 100 years, but somebody can at least, go somewhere and, find some information as it relates, especially local cricket. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. One more question. Can I just ask it and be done with? And that one is directed to Mr. Nantan. I noticed you said we have the Cricket Academy at Benjamin's Park in Portsmouth. So I'm focusing mainly on the women. I hope the men don't take it, too hard. I just wanted to ask, how often do women train at that academy?
Yes, there's the academy at Portsmouth. It is for all all cricketers really. So at present, there isn't a women's youth program. So what we do, we cannot train the women and the men together. So we have the men training on a weekly basis. There's a program that they follow and go through. The women are allowed to come in and train before any tournament. They have a number of weeks training that is done at the academy. There's something when the academy is not on, the women would go there and train themselves, and the coaches are there that they would assist them in doing it. As I said, there aren't as many women playing, and there's not as many women competitions, so there is being used more by the men than the women, but the women have access to it as well, and there are times period of the year when they go in and do their training there.
All right, I'm going to, the question would be for you, Mr. Nanton, to some extent, again, if we want to focus on the administration of cricket. However, I'm going to use the point that Mr. Thomas made in his presentation when he said that so many Dominicans dominated regional cricket. As a matter of fact, he stressed on the fact that there was good quality cricket then. With many venues and facilities now, much more finance. Finance is easily accessible now as opposed to then. So many academies and clubs now, as Mr. Nanton mentioned. So can you tell me what has created that shift in quality now as it was then?
I think before, it can be placed on a number of things. Before, cricket was the thing. If you were somebody in sports and you wanted to play cricket, that's what everybody played. That's what the crowd followed. That's where the world saw us. So it started at home. When you left your home, you go out in the yard. The kids, all the children there are playing cricket. You go to the park. In Benjamin's Park, we used to have 3 main pitches for matches, and maybe 10 others for pick games. In the streets, in the corners, behind the house, behind Methodist Church, everywhere people played cricket. That was the sport of the day. Today, you have influence of other sports. You have influence of TV. So Glenn mentioned that he has his nest at his house, but his boys didn't prefer to be on the TV, even though they're playing at the winners level. So you have that, and you have the interest in other things. So now in Jamaica, that was one of the pillars. You have the Usain Bolts and all the other great athletes there. So people now want to do athletics, you know. So there are so many other things like that. So there isn't as many people playing cricket as we did before. Before, to pick a national team, before when I was going to play the cricket as on the 19 level, we used to have trial matches in Portsmouth to pick Portsmouth team. You know, if you have an under 19 league now, it's difficult to have enough team. As a boy, there was a team in Glenville, there was one in Portsmouth, there was one in Benz, there was one in Paybush, there was one in Tibu, there was one in Vegas. You had the Northern League, and then you had the Western League, then you had the Eastern one, and then you play competition and you go through. So there are not as many people playing the sport in general as we did before. There's nowhere close. I mean, maybe 10% now playing than what happened in the past. But in the past, cricket was all we played. Now you play cricket, you play tennis, you play basketball, you play rounders, you play volleyball, you play Fortnite, you know, you play soccer on TV, and there's so many other things to take the children's interest away. So that is part of the reason. There's a whole movement in everything. That's why when you have the academies, you have to ensure that you provide quality training for the young people who are at the academies to replace all the training they got playing many hours. And it is proven that as a professional, you need to hit so many balls. You need to catch so many balls. You need to, you understand? To do those things there, before you did it on the road, or you have to do it in a setting. You play cricket every day of the week. So when you go to the academy, you have to play how many hours they're providing them, how many they need to play as professionally than what they would have made up naturally in the normal run of life.
Okay, good evening. I have 2 questions, one for Ambassador Nanton and the other for the President of Cricket. Ambassador Nanton, in terms of American cricket, and seeing that we are on the American basin, what possibilities are there for young people to get scholarships to pursue cricket and academics in America? And then the second question to the President, results are what most people grade or judge any tenure. During the last few years, we haven't gotten the best of results in terms of Dominicans making it to even the windwards team and further afield. We have noticed the advent of American television saturating our perimeter and most times our youth, our young people. I am interested to find out in terms of the short-term and long-term plan as to what the association is going to do to rekindle that interest in the game of cricket, and how we're going to combat both the psychological effect and the cultural effect. Mr. Nanton, thank you very much.
Yes, with regards to scholarships in the North America for cricket, at present that it doesn't exist. For the simple reason, cricket in North America is a private organization, and there are no schools playing cricket in North America. While I served with USACA, advising them, we were trying to start a university league there, and they were about to offer scholarships to people, including people in the Caribbean, to come to the schools to play. But as I said, there was this battle between the powers that be in North America, and there was a change of the whole powers there. So that fell through. But the idea was that they would have introduced cricket as universities in North America, and then they would offer scholarships to different people to play, including people of the Caribbean. So that's where we are. But we negotiate scholarships with UWI. I recall Professor Beckles who served on the board with me, and he was very instrumental in getting us going with that. I recall, as I mentioned, a number of them. Once at a meeting, I remember telling Professor Beckles about Ezra Green from the Kalinago territory. He said, Nanton, you have a Kalinago and a cricketer. And he said, tell him to pack his bag, go to my office, my secretary name is XYZ, tell her I send him. And I called Ezra and I told him that. And he said, what you talking about? How do I do it? I said, exactly that. Buy a ticket, go to Barbados, the secretary name is that, tell her that is the situation. And then we got the government to part sponsor him as well. And then he went there and he told that to the girl. The girl called Professor Beckles and she said, yes, I tell him to come. And Ezra got a scholarship for UWI just like that. You know? So there are scholarships in UWI because we had the program with UWI there. But in North America, no. We haven't got that. It's not available at present.
Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph.
Yeah. He was in Taj Tavernier is currently on a scholarship to and again, that came about, as part of the academic program, we have, for the players who live under 19, often enough, they fall through. They cannot make the national team yet, they cannot go through, so they fall through. So we organized to play against Barbados on an annual basis, against a Barbados A team. So we had Taj. Taj played for the academy for about 4 years. He went into there at 14. And I was negotiating on behalf of the academy a scholarship for him with UWI, and they kept saying, no, we haven't got more space, they're all are taken. But when the Barbados team came down to play our academy, our under-23 team here at Portsmouth, the captain of the UWI team was captain in the Barbados A team here in Dominica. And Taj went on and had a brilliant game in the first game. And the same lady who I was negotiating with, Rifa, the Rifa lady, that's Floyd Rifa's wife, she called back and said, Mr. Nanton, my coaches just tell me that we have one space that just opened up, so we'll accept Mr. Tavernier. By then, the Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerry, had already signed a scholarship for him in full. But UWI gave him a scholarship, so then the government did not have to meet as much as they did then. So Tash was one of the players who is also on a scholarship at UWI, joined between the government of Dominica and University of the West Indies. And all the players who went on scholarships to UWI, the government of Dominica paid part of the fees for them as well.
Before Mr. Joseph answers your question, I think enough of our media houses do not bring cricket enough, honestly. I I remember when I played cricket, you know, some of the persons who are here who played cricket for Dominica. I mean, anybody would know who you are. Anybody knows who TK is and Vernon Alain because they heard his name on the radio every time Dominica played. Today, you know, I remember I said that I served on the board for 10 years. And it was, you know, always a battle to get, you know, even when we have the Windward Islands tournament. Even when Dominica went to Grenada and St. Vincent and St. Lucia, we could listen to them play Irving and Grayson and Norbert, and you wanted to be one of them. How many young cricketers want to be a Liam Sebastian? How many times that they heard Liam play it on the radio? And I think that is probably something in 50 years of broadcasting in terms of DBS radio, that somehow the media houses, I think we have a Media Houses Association, maybe they can look at broadcasting in terms of sports, not just specifically cricket, but sports, to see if we can continue to influence and impact our young persons and their involvement in sports. I think probably they need to look at a takeaway, one of the takeaways of that sort of involvement. I know sponsorship is something big. You know, somebody has to pay for something for somebody to listen to it every time, and I understand that. But at your association meeting, I would want you to look at how you can play a role, the media houses can play a role in at least assisting with, you know, pushing cricket and other sports on island. I know you report on sports, and so every morning, every lunchtime, and every evening. But I think as it relates to our past history, that we heard more about our cricketers on radio than present.
Yes, coming to you, Alex. To correct you a little bit, we currently have 3 Dominicans on the Windward Islands, in the Windward Islands setup. Tonight basically is a very good night to start. One of the things that could help our young men psychologically is the non-bashing of administrators when things don't go their way. Perfect example is Alec Athanas, who got dropped on the Windward's team last year. Trevor is here, he's a selector. Mr. Shillingford, and I serve on the Windward Island board as well. So we were in tight positions to address that. And but what Alec did in the face of all this bashing and discouragement, he went out there and he go back to the drawing board and trained. Maybe that might be 1 in 1,000. But I think if, like I said previously, if every one of us get involved, what we have done again at the academy is the setup is in such a way where we can help the youth holistically. We have 3 competent level 3 coaches down there, as well as 2 assistant coaches. And once the job down there is done well, I guess psychologically our guys can be helped. And like I said, if we start at an early age, and that is where we need consolidation, you know, DCA, Sports Division, Ministry of Sports, Ministry of Tourism, radio station, everybody get involved, and we start to culture these minds at an early age. It's going to be very easy for young men to face hardships. Like when you grow up as a 19-year-old. I mean, my sons had to deal with non-selection at the Windward Island level as well. I mean, my sons had to deal with that as an administrator. And I had to go there and rehabilitate them, you know, counsel them, talk with them as well. So these things will constantly happen to kids. Once you play the game, somebody, somewhere will get that 1 point ahead of you and get selected, and you stay down. And the onus is on every one of us. And I want to make an appeal to parents especially. And, you know, there are quite a few kids that are from dysfunctional homes that don't have that kind of guidance at home, and they need that figure when they face such challenges and circumstances to be there and tell them, you don't have to give up. You do not have to die. you can still overcome. And I believe Ali taught us that, a couple 2 years back. He taught us that. Whereas some guys did not make it, and they say, hey, Pullman, I don't want to be in that no more. And so that is where, the importance of every one of us getting involved, man. We have to get this, and we have to get a group of counselors ready to help our young people who are willing to do the work voluntarily. We don't have to get a $5,000 and $10,000 salary to do it. We have to make ourselves available to help the youth of our country, because it may be your cousin, it may be your brother's child, it may be a good friend's child, and that is why I make myself available for children. I'm always there. When I see kids playing without shoe, I find myself, I lose $200-300 and give a child a shoe. It don't hurt me. I give it to them, and that is where we must all get. We may not have the financial backing to assist somebody, but we can have that encouraging word, because we once needed it when we were young. And some of us who did not get it, we fall by the wayside. We made a lot of mistakes. And so really and truly, we must all get involved and make it happen.
Yes, Mr. Joseph.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Glenn, while you're saying that we all need this, I want to support the fact that we all need this. But I remembered as a boy growing up that we played cricket and our parents did not even know that we played cricket. Some of us went as far as representing Dominica, and they were not even sure as to how we became selected to be a cricketer, much less for them to even know. That is to say that the passion was within us. And you made the point earlier on that your children those days will go on the gadget to literally play. We went out and sweat and get the talent. So it's a mixture of both. I would just like to say that the passion must be there. I also want to say, before I ask my question to Mervyn, that I'm proud that DBS Radio has played its role in the business of sports. If we can go way back of Dave Cottingham leaving St. Mary's Academy, having to come to go to DBS Radio in the morning and give some sporting report before he would have gone to work for 8 o'clock. We saw John Lublack himself played a great role, a pivotal role in really revamping the whole issue of sports in that time, because John Lublack himself was a sportsman. We saw Curtis Murphy himself came on board and do his part in ensuring that more cricket and more football and more basketball would be known. And you found that more young people were involved and is involved this present day. And I must say that today you see Gavin Richards, who is doing a Hercules job. I mean, he has to be complimented for the kind of work that he does in terms of getting work or getting information to the general public. Outside of the fact that we have our morning news, our afternoon news, and our evening sports news that we have on a Wednesday, where we actually speak to people from moving from 60 minutes now to 90 minutes, giving much more to sports. So I just want to be on record to state that DBS Radio is playing its role. It's an important role in ensuring that not only the names are known, but the people and the ability and the records is being told. I want to ask the President, Mr. Glenn Joseph. You spoke earlier on of the old guards. The old guards did a fantastic job in ensuring that we were able to sustain cricket. And you find in those early days that Dominica would do so well that would have between 6 and 7 of our national players representing us on the Windward Islands level. Unfortunately for Lockett Sebastian, never made the West Indies side, but he was as equally good as Gordon Greenidge and Desmond Haynes. That's to my opinion. I want to find out from you, sir, what is the association now doing to ensure that the relationship with the old guards, with the talent, the ability, the know-how? I would like to know how much involvement does the association at this present time is getting these old guards to be part and parcel of that project or that program of getting better cricketers with a better temperament. Because, as I said, Lockett Sebastian never made the West Indies side for many years. He started at the age of 16 and maybe ended at the age of 35 and never saw a bat or a crease of the West Indies. To Mr. Nanton, second question. We know that in the good old days to Nanton, that Shell played an important role in the Caribbean cricket. So most of us grew up knowing Shell, and some of us were not even aware that Shell was really dealing with petroleum, because we were all having coal pots at our home, and some of us didn't have vehicles. We just heard the name Shell, and we were very excited about the cricketers that were coming forward. I would like to find out from you, sir, in reference to securing of sponsorship. What are we not doing in the Caribbean, or what do we have to do to secure the kind of sponsorship that will help in sustaining the cricket in the Caribbean? That's the question that I have to ask.
Yes, yeah, one of the areas that I highlighted was the importance of our past players to get involved in ensuring that the administration of cricket on island gets to a good level. We've invited a few persons to be part of what we're doing. For some reason, you are not getting the feedback that you'd want, you know. I think we can put a greater effort from tonight. Quite a few of the things that I shot down here, we can make a greater effort to have persons, you know, involved, because one must recognize that if I played the game of cricket, there must be some contribution that I can make to better somebody. We have people who played in the past who are engaged in the sport, like Kentish, who is here. He's employed with the sports division. He trains young boys on a daily basis, I guess. And so we have people involved. It is just that we need to get more persons involved to be able to pass on their experience. This is not something that is easy to find in our country. I'm not too sure if it's something that is maybe cultural. People normally hold on to what they learn and don't feel free to pass it on. And I think we need to work hard to break that cycle. As a parent myself, I see these things happen in society. People are not willing to, they always have that pushback when it relates to young people. You know, people don't like to be around people. And I had an experience watching a football match a few Saturdays ago, and I had this, you know, I had to take on a young man, a teacher, school teacher actually, who has been teaching for 20, 30 years. And a young guy passed with his pants just below his butt, and he's like crying him down. And I'm standing there listening to him as a school teacher. And I say, do you think that this young man can be a greater man than you? I mean, what does a pant have to do with his character? This is just a pant, you know? And I say, when we start here, and you see, I mean, most times you don't blame the older folks, because some of the boys really put that kind of resistance because I don't want to hear from you. But I think if we make the effort, I normally go on the block and talk to boys. You know, I normally do that. Whether you smoke weed or not, it's your habit you choose. You drink, it's your habit you choose. It has nothing to do with me. But I think once I can be that help to somebody, I make myself available. So I don't think it is right to say that the association has to go to Peter, Paul, and Mary, and everybody and say, come and help the youngsters. I think people must search their hearts and see the needs that are around them and find a way to help somebody. Because it does not have to be a cricketer, you know. It can be somebody who was in another sporting discipline. So, but to summarize that, I think we have to do a better job at working together. And that is where I think the rubber reaches the road, where we have to work together, because we have to move all those distractors from us, all this little division that is not necessary, and get to work together for the good of our young people.
Yeah. Hold on, Mr. Nanton.
Yes.
Respond to the question.
Yeah, Mr. Joseph, with regards to your question on sponsorship, I believe, as I said before, that the cricket world is interesting, and sponsorship can be difficult. But it's a dynamic thing that's changing all the while. You know, sometimes you need to find ways of tapping into local companies, but sometimes if local companies cannot make it, then there may actually be other opportunities. I mean, in recent times, we have seen islands in the Caribbean and even in the windwards holding tournament sponsored by companies in India, the T10s. I'm quite sure that this year will get involved at some point and hopefully very soon. So you have companies in India sponsoring to hold a tournament in St. Lucia or in Grenada or St. Vincent or Jamaica. Those things are possible. The world now is changing. There's that dynamism that's there. If people at home cannot go out, they want us to see more. I mentioned that cricket pays money, makes money from TV. So while people at home, there's a market there of 1.6 billion people wanting to do things and see things. So there are opportunities. Having said that, I believe it's important to point out, particularly to the parents here and those listening, that there's a good success story to tell. I cannot think what the possibility of a Dominican youth being successful, with no disrespect to any other sport internationally, is what? Be 1 in a million, or 2 million, or 3 million. But tonight, we're saying that there's a 2 in maybe 200 with Kavem and Athenas. So much difference there. Tonight, I mean, I must have called about 10 names of young Dominicans who went to university on cricket scholarships. That's success. We had someone like Liam or Shane, who was here in Dominica training at Windsor Park and getting a salary of $8,000 every month playing cricket for Windwards, and they were based here in Windsor Park. That is success. In addition to playing, getting $8,000 salary a month, they got $8,500 US match fees for every match that they played, whether they were on the field or on the bench. That's 4,000 EC dollars. And they played 10 games. 4,000, that's $40,000 in addition to the 8 by 12 that we're talking about. And then they also got $800 US for every game that they played in the regional one-day competition. And they also got $700 for every T20 they played. You understand? That's success. People we know, we can touch and we can smell. Young sports people in Dominica. So we have to be able to let the parents and the young people know that the possibility for succeeding. We have Billy Doctor over here. He was elite. We can touch him in the room here. 1 in 10 in the whole world. Can you imagine? The possibility for success is real. We can see it, we can smell it, and in cricket we can touch it.
Yes, Vernon.
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky kids who came from a house with an umpire as a father and a national player, and I have a lot of books in my home. I wish that the academy could at least come and get some books from both umpiring and playing cricket, because that's where I look, because I learned from 1963 with my father's book how ancient Ali bowled leg break. And that's where I started. Yeah, that's how I learned the cricket, you know, in my father's book, when ancient Ali and Betty bowled leg break in the early 60s. So there's a lot of books at my home. Could the academy at least maybe do something to come to 48 Citron here and have some books to at least help the kids? Or, I don't know, they maybe might have to pay for it or something.
Yeah. This for those you don't know, this is Vernon Arlene, the son of the legendary cricket umpire Philip Arlene. So he grew up in cricket. He grew up in cricket. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Shillingford?
Yes, my question is directed to Ms. Etienne. You made reference to some of the difficulties that you're having with women's cricket in Dominica. And we all are aware that the game is taking a very long period to really catch on. But you as a former international, you would have played on the international level and also within the region. What is it different that the people out there are doing that we are not doing in Dominica that is preventing or hindering the growth of women's cricket in Dominica? That's for you. And the second question, Mr. Thomas, during your historical information that you gave us, you made reference to the existence of a number of cricket clubs in Dominica. And you also made reference to a number of our players who really grace the regional scene and even the international scene. And don't you believe that we can attribute that success that we had at the international and regional scene in the past to the existence of these clubs? And don't you believe that this was part of the old way of doing things and it brought success to us? But Mr. Joseph in his presentation made mention of not wanting to administer like the old days. Don't you believe that the absence of the proper clubs within our system is really a major hindrance to the development of our cricket? And if so, don't you believe that our administrators, I'm talking about our cricket administrators, should make a bigger effort at ensuring that we have the return of the clubs to the sport of cricket?
Okay, Mr. Shillingford, your question. The difference with what's happening here and what's happening out there. I had the experience, so I get the exposure on the, for example, when I talk about the stipend, when we travel to go and play and stuff like that. Whenever I went out, whenever we travel to go and play on international level, there is a stipend waiting on us. So when we arrive there, we get whatever we get, and then we still get paid for our matches being played, whether we on bench or not, like Mr. Nanton said. But with here now, when we have to represent Dominica on the national level, we get a stipend from the DCA, which is if any of the players get injured, then that can cover for if it's medical or medication or whatever it is. But as for pocket change wise, like I was talking about stipend, we do not get that. And that is something I think they can at least look into, because most of the women, majority of them, I can talk on the behalf of them, it's difficult for them to maybe have it in their pocket. Some might have it, some might not. So that is the reason why I brought up that point. So in that case, it haven't got to be a big bulk of something, but they can look into at least doing that. That maybe would maybe motivate the women to play a little more cricket. Because when we have to go out there and we're not getting anything, somebody like me will devote myself towards it because I have the passion for the game. But the others would be like, their statements would be like, I'm not getting money, I'm not going nowhere. You understand? So it's a little rough for certain players and some of us.
Yeah, but just before you get off the mic, a follow-up. We are aware that in Dominica, the pool of women involved in cricket is very small. What would you recommend as the way forward in terms of broadening the pool of women who are involved with the sport of cricket?
I think, like I said earlier, we should start from the primary school level. Involve the senior players, like the past and the present, like Doris Francis, Sharon Gregoire, you have Shanita Graham, you have Annika Andrew, you have Annika Benjamin, you have myself, you have a lot of senior players you can use. So if we have players from Carib territory, the past senior players, you can use them to target the primary school level from that area, Portsmouth, different areas. So in that case, you can start off with them there. You can arrange academies. Like you see how they have for the men, the boys in Portsmouth, they have them every weekend at the academy. So if this weekend would be about the boys, then maybe they can have a location where they can actually have the women doing the same thing every weekend. So for it goes to both the senior players and the young players. So we have people like me that will be there in the academy with them, with the younger players. So we'll be working, the coaches and them there. So we have Mr. Marvin Thomas, who is a very good coach. So these people that can help us. So like Portsmouth have their own, then Roseau can have their own as well. So you have players, you're recruiting players from all over Dominica to come to that academy.
Yes, Mr. Schillingford. In the past, people naturally gravitated towards the field. Nobody had to tell me to play. We have become very sophisticated, very, very sophisticated. And you literally, and that's why I think the academy started, you know, to drag young men from their parents' homes to play cricket. And anybody you force to do anything, your level of success might be. If you take on your own and do something, you see like what we did before was they call that backyard cricket. We learned on our own. You never forget what you learn on your own. Yes or no? We have less people to make up clubs and even teams. It's a problem to get a team, more or less a club. My recommendation to the cricketing fraternity, and including you as a person who is involved at the government level in terms of sports, and of course you deal with cricket, we have to look, and I see you're dealing a lot of that with district, you are now dealing with sports at the district level. And that is why even me as an organizer of cricket now, you hear St. Paul's. It's not just Maho, you know. Before you had 20 teams in Maho. How many in St. Joe and Salisbury? Collyho. Right? And you see the number of clubs. You could identify those clubs with certain geographical areas in Dominica in the past. Yes or no? Today, it's difficult. So I think the approach, in as much as I want to answer your question, I will lend to what you asked in terms of we have to go district. We can no longer depend on a village to provide us with cricketers. And that's what I would hope that, that based on even what I'm doing presently, you know, with the players that I'm involved with, that some of the other districts can maybe take that and see how we have district clubs or cricket at district level to ensure that we have a certain level of success in terms of, and even continuity in terms of Dominica's cricket. Because our cricket is under threat, to be honest with you. I mean, kudos to the footballs and so on, and basketball, they're trying something, but cricket is under threat. We have less cricketers to take from. And I think this is where the issue is. And so we have to go wider, through that net wider, to ensure that we continue to produce. But we have skill. There's a lot of skill and talent on island, but you know, if you go to individual communities, it's going to be a challenge to get this. But I think if we throw our net much wider, then I think we can still continue to do well in cricket.
I don't have the mic, but
yes.
Good.
Yeah, you mentioned as part of your historical facts that the clubs, a lot of the clubs existed within the Roseau area, and the players who gained selection had to actually come to Roseau to represent the clubs in Roseau. So I never mentioned clubs as a village, because with clubs, players move from clubs. I mean, even on the international level, you have transfers to different clubs all the time, right? So the point I'm making is not specific to being part of a village, but I'm talking about the clubs, that structure that we had, that club, right? That institution, that is what I'm referring to. And don't you believe that the absence of that institution is really hindering the progress. And if you are saying yes, it is, I am saying, don't you believe that the people you mentioned, the Ministry of Sports, our role is different from the Cricket Association. The Cricket Association administers a specific sport, and their role is to develop that specific sport. So I'm saying, don't you believe that there is a role for the association, right, in terms of rekindling that club structure that we once had, which you said earlier aided with the development of our cricket?
Yeah, I want to agree with you. Not fully though. Remember I mentioned that if you force people to do things, of course the DC as an administrative body of cricket has a role to play. Yeah, they can provide maybe draft constitutions to the clubs. Yes, maybe the PRO can, you know, say if you are a club, that's the only way we're going to register you. They can play the role, but again, the onus is on the people in the communities. They have to play at least 80% of the role of organizing at the club level. You did mention earlier, you know, that in the past, you had the clubs, but it didn't take the local association to organize the clubs. It took people from the different communities to be part of those clubs. So while the DCA or the administrator of cricket has a role to play, the onus is still upon the people who are going to be members of those clubs to ensure that it functions properly.
Yes, Alex.
Okay, once again, Ambassador, one of the key things I've heard for tonight is, one, from cricket, you have an opportunity to attend university, at least the University of the West Indies. Secondly, the ratio of getting international recognition is better with cricket than almost any other sport. And thirdly, you can make a decent living from cricket. Are we collectively inculcating that into the young children from the early age? Growing up, that yes, you may like the other sports, but here is the ratio, here is the sort of earnings that you can actually derive from that particular sport, and you can attend, you can have an academic career plus a sporting career. How deep are we doing that? Are we inculcating that into the young people so that they can have that passion once again for cricket?
Well, that's why I mentioned it here tonight. I've said those things before.
To the young people at school level, grassroots level, I mean, this is, I know we have the school leagues, but then coming to the school and talking to the school at the school level, for instance, you as an ambassador, a former cricketer, I understand Shane has made a decent living, explaining to the children, look, here I was, here I am because of cricket. Yeah, for instance, she could say how she derived that where she is presently, where she was to the women cricket. And by that level of interaction, we sort of use, that's where I was referring to the psychological aspect of it. From very early, before they can even really bat and bowl, you start to tell them there is that career.
So I think we need to continue to spread that news. So we use medium like this one, we should use others to spread that good news, because that's good news that we have for cricket. I mentioned those here, but I mean, somebody from West Indies on a contract. I spoke of contract at Windward's level. If you go to the West Indies level, it's even different. I mean, somebody at West Indies level would get a contract. The minimum contract is, back in the days when I was there, around $80,000 a year. So you divide that by 12, and then you get paid $5,000 per game. So somebody like Shane was on a West Indies contract. So right here in Dominica, because Shane would have gotten that, bam, bam, bam. So we need to spread those dues so people can.
And then Ambassador, whether you play or not, you get that salary.
Yeah. You play or not, you are paid. Yeah, you are supposed to keep fit, and that is important. I mentioned the athleticism of our players in the 70s and 80s. These days we play for a lot of money, but we don't want to keep fit. I think it is pathetic. Somebody like Edmire, who is so talented, is out of the team because of fitness issues. That should not be. You know, I mean, we have to ensure that our players are fit and go out there and work. Once I'm on I just wanted to take the opportunity to extend condolences to the family of Forbes Charles in Marigot. Billy and I were at his funeral yesterday. He was a very good comrade in cricket development, and he played his part as well. And moving, I just wanted to mention as well, you did mention the young guy who left Gallio and played for England. That was Phil De Freitas. He left Gallio at 14 years and played for England. And of course, Doris, that Pearl mentioned so many times there. Doris actually captained the United States team, you know that? Doris Francis was playing with Pearl in Dominica here. Was the captain. She had left Dominica and played. She went to Central to play and stayed there. But then she ended up in the States. And Doris from the Kalinago territory, a Dominican there, was the captain of the United States cricket team. You know, and when I was doing cricket with you, Saka, a few years ago, about 2-3 years ago, Adam Stanford was still playing cricket professionally in the USA. And he looked as fit as ever. And all he did was play cricket. We're from one league to another playing cricket and being paid to play cricket. So I just wanted to mention, a Dominican was the US captain in cricket as well. Yeah?
Glenn, Etienne.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Let me just first commend DBS for a wonderful evening here this evening. The DCA, I get from the discussion that the culture have changed a lot of things. And I want to say the culture in the 80s will never come back. We're in the 21st century now. And I also get from the DCA, the clubs played a pivotal role in the past. But to get back to where we were in the past, what structures had the DCA put in place to get these clubs reactivated, that the young kids of what we saw in the past, that we can see now in the present time?
All right, we're trying to bring back the past to make the present work and move in. I did a good job on answering question that Mr. Shillingford was asking. What we've done is we've presented a community or a district club structure to the cricketing fraternity, which would help in, because we have you have a lot of migration, the cricket population decreased, so there's no more Dublin team, and really and truly the fact is where Dublin, let's say a team like Dublin would have played with 16 and 17 guys, they were not able to fill in a team. And then you had even Portsmouth as well, couldn't finish. So they would have to get guys from outside. So we believe the best way to go is to merge communities, where we would do it on a district level. I mean, cut the country into 8 districts. And this district would form clubs. You would have enough people. What we advise, and the technical committee did put a comprehensive program together, a structure together, sorry. You would have you would have a youth arm to this club. So where you would find clubs training and you would only have adults, you would have, let's say on a given training day, 3 sets of players, or let's 2 sets of players. So you would have the junior guys training from probably 8 to 10, and then the senior guys. And that is really where we want to take the cricket in this time, because of the decline and the decrease in population. And you see, because if you notice, I mean, if you go to Vegas right now, I mean, people hardly play cricket there. Maybe a handful of people. You go to Penfield, there are much more guys playing there. You go to Tebow, there's a couple people playing. So you would understand the need for the merging of communities, and that is where I think it was well thought of by the DCA to be able to introduce the district aspect of our clubs, where you would have proper management. But you would understand that some people don't like to let go of things. I'm a person who believes in the bigger picture.
So one would resist such structure because I may lose my little club down there in the process, you know, my little thing down there in the process. And I believe you are asking what have we done. This is what we have done. We have a technical team with competent persons of Marvin Thomas, Phoenix Thomas, Sam Conan, Liam Sebastian, and this guy put a real good program together where we structured together where we could have where we could revamp clubs, not like how it was in the past, but be able to have the different communities coming together and forming those clubs. And basically, and we were emphasizing the youth arm of those clubs as well. But this is something, you see, people don't grasp culture quickly, and new culture quickly. Some things take time, and you have to understand why they take time, because people need to understand why they do things and why they should do things, and we understand some things will take a little longer than others. So sometimes it may not happen in our tenure, but it may happen. Somebody else down there will get the job done. And so we are not in a rush for it because you do not want to confuse people.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, let me say thank you to UE for inviting me and DBS for setting up this. Okay, thank you, Mr. Cecil. I'm happy I accept the invitation because I would really love to hear from either Mr. Nanton or Mr. Joseph to tell the listening public the role that softball play in the development of cricket. We really want to know how do you all see softball fitting. I'm happy I came here. How do you all see softball fitting in terms of the development of cricket in Dominica and it also regionally? That is what I want to know.
Softball. Cricket for me is cricket. I appreciate what you are doing, has done with softball, and I think the more people play cricket around the country is the better for cricket in the country. I am part of organizing a softball league in one of the communities in the north, and if we could have persons doing that, and it's catching up. You had one in Wesley recently.
Gentlemen.
You have a football league in the Kalinago territory. Now you have one in Paybush. There is one in Granby, and the National League as well. So, I mean, if we can have cricket played, because not many people would be able to play this hardball thing. I mean, I can tell you, I'm not going back to this hardball thing. But if I can get a little sweat with a softball, then fine, I could do that. And you see, again, you want the game of cricket, you know, to surface everywhere in the country. You know, so I even spoke to somebody about doing one in Woodford Hill as well. Hey, why don't you do one in Woodford Hill as well? Because it's catching up, it's working. What we do not want to happen is, we do not want all those little leagues to interfere with the National League that must take precedence over every league, or all leagues. So we would advocate that we do these leagues like off-season, and what we try to do is, or what we will try to do, or what we are discussing now, is to ensure that our league starts as early as possible so that we cannot interfere with this enjoyment aspect of the cricket where, you know, people go out on a Sunday afternoon and enjoy themselves. But you miss softball cricket, I honor. I mean, cricket to me is cricket. It's just that we want everything to be done decently according to the good book and in order.
A question for Mr. Charles. Seeing that you brought up the topic about cricket, softball, it ever crossed your mind that you can also organize a women's softball tournament?
Hey, boy.
That ever come on your mind, because everything is men.
Thank you, Pearl. I'm sure you remember we went as far as we invited the national women team to play in our league.
Yes, you're talking about you invite.
And we also, let me answer the question. We also gave a uniform kit. We sponsored a uniform kit just to ensure that the women played in that league. And I think they played 2 games in that league, and we don't know what happened after.
No, I'm not telling you about the women team played in the league. What I'm asking you is that why is it that you cannot put in place a women's softball league?
All right. Well, certainly we will look. We don't want to, again, you know what happens with the softball. We don't want to affect what is happening with the hardball.
No.
We will do it. We will consider it, and we will listen. This is about marketing cricket, and once there is room for it, we will do it.
Listen, the reason why I ask you that is because a lot of women want to play the game.
All right.
But because it's hardball, they're afraid of the ball.
Sure.
So they said if they start off with the softball, then they can come in the hardball.
Well, no problem.
So that is why I ask you that.
2022, we will do it.
Okay.
Let me just. I want to add a different twist, and I want the panel to respond, because I have a concern myself in terms of one of the reasons why our cricketers locally, regionally, and internationally are possibly not as successful as before. I really believe our cricketers, and I can talk from the international scene, the West Indies players, I have a concern with their mental strength, the mental toughness. Now, a lot of what is going on now is that we find a lot of emphasis on the shortened version of the game, 10-10 and 20-20, which is good because that is probably what brings in quick money and entertainment and interest. But when you're talking about a region and the real judgment and test of cricket, you cannot go anywhere beyond test cricket. You have to be play and success at the test level. I have seen too many times our players will lose games because, again, of our mental weakness. There are many examples of those things. So I want to find out, because I hardly ever hear administrators, coaches, managers, captains talk about the mental preparation of players. And I've seen it on first hand where you have a difference in levels of mental toughness with West Indian players and other countries. And I say we have many examples. We can look at even the last game West Indies played Pakistan right here in Dominica. They say when you're not mentally strong, you start making poor decisions because you're not resilient. You almost become a non-entity in the game. Where you have West Indies against Pakistan, the last game, the last day, West Indies 190 for 8 when the 9th wicket fell. We have 8 overs to bat out, and the last ball of the penultimate over, where you had one of our number 11 batsmen, he's practically a bowler. You're talking about what's his name? Sean Gabriel. And you have a situation where he's batting with a player who is 101 not out, an established batsman. All he had to do was bat out the last ball of that over, and the recognized batsman would bat out the last over to draw the game. A batsman well set of 101. And he made a rash, what we call a real cool bat, and lost the game. that shows a sign of mental weakness. And when you're mentally weak, as I said, you make poor decisions. If you look at West Indies cricket over the last 10, 15 years, we excel at the shortened version of the game. But when you step up to test cricket, that is where we fall short. We are lacking that mental toughness to last out a 5-day test match. You have to learn to focus more. You have to learn to concentrate more, just like an umpire. I've learned from that. And I believe we need to make more, we need to tap into persons out there in the Caribbean. We have many mental therapists and sports psychologists, and we need to introduce those persons in our preparation of our cricket teams. As I said, I hear coaches talking about all kind of going to the gym for how many hours, staying in the nets for how many hours, but very few, if any, talk about that mental preparation. So I want to find out from the panel whether they believe that, like me, I believe that that's one of our major issues facing West Indies cricket. And it stems from local, regional, and international. So I want to find out whether the panel probably share my view or have a different view, because I really believe that we need to focus on that much more than we are doing.
If I were to, I'll start at the bottom when you mentioned about Pakistan and West Indies here. I want to give Pakistan credit. The tactical game was just superb on that day, that afternoon. Tactically, I mean, they played on the mind of Shannon. They brought everybody in. So what he saw was this open field. And he decided, if I swing, I'm going to hit. So I want to give Pakistan credit for the tactical game on that afternoon. That doesn't mean Shannon was mentally weak, you know. But Shannon Gabriel, they made him see something, and he went for it. You talk about mental toughness. Basically, as a coach, I've had quite a bit of success with quite a few teams, you know, the Dominica teams, national teams, and so. One of the things I do as a coach is at some closer to the tournament, when guys really feel that they're relaxed and they think that they are in the team, what I begin to do is to introduce real game scenarios. For example, maybe a few weeks before the tournament ends, if you go in and you get out, so we have real game situations. No matter who you are, if you're the captain, you're part of the core of the team, we bring in real game scenarios. If you get out one ball, you go. So I begin to get guys to make decisions in terms of, even in practice, what decision can I make to ensure that I protect my wicket, I value my wicket. This is some of the techniques that I've used. As a coach, you know, who has been trained by the West Indies board, of course, under Mr. Nanton's tenure and so on, at level 3, I don't think you have a coach in Jamaica, you have a coach with the Windwards Volcanoes, with the Barbados Pride and so on. Everybody do their own thing. If the West Indies board, on this coaching education program, can train coaches, I think across the board there should be standardization. So you find, for example, the Volcanoes coach might be coaching a guy, when he gets to the West Indies setup, it's something different. I'm saying that the head coach of the West Indies team should be able to provide some guidance at the various franchises level to ensure that the biggest focus is on fitness. Everybody follows the same fitness program. But as it relates to the tactical part of the cricket, the physical part of the cricket, you know, and the actual playing and preparation of the teams, every coach does something different. And that, I think, because remember, we come from different territories. This is very unique, you know. South Africa, yes, they have, you know, cricket across the provinces and so on, but South Africa is South Africa. We live in a very unique situation, and it will take something very special to ensure. I know in the past, but everybody was in the backyard. Everybody was on the playground. We made a lot of decisions up in Lindo Park. You did that. without a coach. That prepared you. Nowadays, you have to have guys at the academy, and I must give credit to the West Indies board, right? I want that to go on record, is that a lot of emphasis is placed on, in terms of our training, that the player is the most important actor in everything that goes on. All the training that you do has to be player-centered. So that is why it takes a lot for me to criticize a coach or a coaching system. It is very difficult to do that, because I know no one coach really wants a team to fail. No one cricketer wants a team to fail. And as you said, I don't know what system the coaches use, but there's a hell of a support system. And sometimes you really wonder, I ask myself, you know, what is it? What is it that the other countries are doing that we are not doing? And it's sad that I really cannot answer all the questions that you've asked, honestly, because I can only speak to what I do as a coach, and of course the level of success I've had with quite a few, Dominican teams. Even after a hurricane in 2018, we were able to go to St. Lucia and, really get the guys together, of course with the help of Mr. Joseph, who was the manager, get those guys together psychologically and get them to win a tournament for Dominica.
Okay. Moving on, I don't want to prolong, but I just want to say, in the incident with Pakistan and West Indies,
yes, sir.
West Indies will be the only team of top-class Test cricket would have lost in that fashion. Any other country, the player would have probably got out, but playing a defensive threat, trying to survive that one ball. Every other person would have done that. And that's why I'm telling you the difference in terms of our mental strength. A mentally strong player could never ever play a shot like that. And we play with one ball to face, and he hand over the last 6 balls to the next batsman. Anyway, but we have to continue.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, and we have one more question or comment. No more.
That's it.
Oh, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of a real fantastic session. I really, really enjoyed it, and as I said from the very beginning, I was not surprised at the level of discussion that we have had. I believe that the persons who are not here, really missed something, the whole atmosphere. But I hope that the persons who listened via the different media and viewed would really take on board most of what was said here this evening. And I hope that our cricket can move from strength to strength. Everybody, every organization has a role to play, very important role to play. And we have to understand that it is important that cricket survives, and cricket not only survives, but cricket excels in Dominica and in the West Indies. So I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to serve as moderator. So I hand over to the chairman, Marvin Richards, to bring this ceremony to an end.
Thank you very much, Mr. Doctorov. And of course, I want to thank the panelists as well for a job well done this evening. Like a round of applause for... It's already 10:35, so at this point in time, we'd like to invite Mrs. Milia Joseph Dennis to the podium to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Thomas, I would like to disagree with you on one point that you made here this evening. I am a die-hard West Indian fan, but I will stand here and tell you, Gabriel is weak. He is weak. On behalf of the management and staff of DBS Radio and the DBS Radio 50th Anniversary Committee, I would like to thank, first of all, the Honorable Senator Oscar George. I do have a proposal for you. I do hope that you will take it in a little later. I'll bring it across to you. Mr. George, who is the Minister for Telecommunication and Broadcasting. Let me also thank Mr. Dennis Joseph, the former manager of DBS Radio and chair of DBS Radio 50th Anniversary Committee. Mr. Billy Doctrove, our moderator here this evening, thank you so much. Our panelists, Mr. Marvin Thomas, thank you so much for the history on Dominica's cricket. Mrs. Pearl Etienne, it's nice knowing a little bit more about you and the role that you played in West Indies cricket. Mr. Glenn Joseph, thank you so much. His Excellency Emmanuel Nanton for a demanding presentation here. Unfortunately, you didn't have enough time to, continue presenting. Mr. Niall Grove, thank you so much for your rendition at the start. Mr. Gavin Richards, again, thank you for chairing this proceeding. Let me say thank you to Ms. Linfia Bellots for working tirelessly in ensuring that we could have gotten sponsors for tonight's discussion. Dr. Kimon Joseph and her team here at UE, especially Kadisha Pinard, thank you so much. Our very own manager at DBS Radio, Mr. Cecil Joseph, thank you for putting this discussion into play. The manager secretary, Gail Sensi, thank you so much. Ms. Ranilia Williams, thank you. Our caterers, let me say a special thank you to you as well. Our sponsors who came on board for this evening's discussion, let me say a special thank you to Big Edge Financial. You're always willing to assist whenever we call. Thank you so much. The Dominica Brewery and Beverages Limited, Kubuli Beer, Digicel, Auto Trade, ISA Trading, Fine Foods Inc., the biggest distributors of the biggest brand found in Dominica, and HHV Witches and Company, agents for Caribbean. Let me thank our technicians on duty, our media personnel, Mr. Dean Thomas, Mr. Baptiste, as well as Mr. Median Packet. Thank you so much for ensuring that our viewers could have viewed these proceedings live on Facebook and as well as YouTube. Those of you listening via radio, thank you for staying tuned. Those of you who are here in the audience, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, of course. We hope that we will be able to present to you another discussion sometime soon as we continue to celebrate our 50th anniversary. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Milia Joseph Dennis. Well, this brings us to the end of the proceedings here tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. It was a worthwhile discussion for the past 3.5 hours. And we're looking forward to doing another one again sometime in the near future. For the panelists, we have some refreshments, so we'd like you to remain seated. You'll be served. And also we'd like to invite the members here for some refreshments as well. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
All right, that's where we come to the end of this evening's panel discussion at the UE Open Campus on Emsall Road.